Hello, everybody. It is so good to see all of your digital, non-existent faces in the chat. Welcome to the grand finale of Shoot Your One-Shot, a very special series of one-shots right here on Transplanar RPG, and I am so proud and happy to be your GM for the evening. I am Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me all across the internet at ByConnieChang. That's ByConniechang. I'm going to pass along introductions for the final time for this series of Shoot Your One-Shot. Up and over to Sam.
Hey everyone, I'm Sam, that's Sam with 2 M's. I use she, they pronouns. You can catch me on Twitter at LustForLifeX. Lust has 2 T's and life has 2 E's with an X at the end, don't forget it. And I'm going to pass it along to Vidithya.
Hey everybody, my name is Vidithya. I use he, him pronouns, and you can find me online at Vidithya Valetti everywhere. That's where it is, it's my name. And I'm going to pass it along to April.
Oh, hi, I'm April. You can find me as April Reagan, and I just forgot what we're doing. Candace, I'm passing to Candace.
Hi, my name is Candace. You might have seen me on the internet as Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she. I'm super excited to be here. Oh, I'm playing. Do I see who I'm playing? I forgot. I'm sorry.
Sure, give us a little teaser. Yes, go for it.
I am playing a Harangon. That's a fighter whose name is Aki Blackbun.
Ooh. I'm so excited to meet Aki. I'm gonna take it. Thank you, Candace. I'm so excited to meet Aki and everyone else's characters. But before we get started, a couple of things to get out of the way. What you're watching right here, right now, is Shoot Your One Shot. And Shoot Your One Shot is a series of 7 one-shots set in Andake, with a rotating cast of guests who all use the hashtag BIMPOC Shoot Your Shot at Transplanar RPG this past year. This event hosts over 30 incredible BIMPOC players in our very own original homebrew world, and we are so glad that all of you are joining us. This is the 7th Shoot Your One Shot episode, Heartbreak on the High Seas. So thank you so much for being here for our grand finale. And speaking of which, 100% of all tips raised tonight are going to go toward paying and supporting all 30 plus of the incredible performers involved in Shoot Your One Shot. And we do have incentives because we love chaos. So $25 or more will grant a PC of your choice inspiration. $50 or more will grant a PC of your choice an auto crit, or if you're feeling particularly evil, you can give it to me as the GM to use in any context I desire. Inspirations can also be granted equilaterally to the table if you can't pick a player or don't want to. We have raised $445 so far, woo! And $500 is within a batting distance. I can taste it. It's so close. I want to grasp it, but we're not quite there yet. So I would love to try to get to 500 before the break, or maybe even before, I'm done with my intro spiel. That would be amazing, because let's get these incredible BIMPOC paid, especially if you are a white ally in the chat and have some expendable income. I'm looking at you. That's all I'm going to say. And make sure to share far and wide if you can't or don't want to for any reason, are unable to donate. Use !tweet to share our going live tweet. That helps just as much. Boosting it, interacting with it, liking it, replying under it, quote retweeting, etc. That is immensely helpful. So with all of those necessary spiels out of the way, let's talk about content warnings for this episode. So content warnings for this particular session include fantasy violence, apocalypse, complex and complicated relationships, depression, grief, romance, references to sexual entanglements, toxic relationships, manipulation, memory loss, amnesia, references to Igor, vast bodies of water, storms, depths, the threat of drowning, body horror, monsters and monstrosity, and leviathans. So use !CW in chat at any time for a full list of these content warnings. Oh, and yes, !donate to get that donation command, get that link, and get those incentives yet again. So, with that out of the way, everybody, let's begin. It's Adolin, the last day of the last month of the year, and the gods are still gone. The stars are still vanished against a yawning, blackened sky. The weave is still snapped, the distended edges of magic hemorrhaging like an unstable wound into the now. It's Adolin, and you're supposed to be carousing. You're supposed to be dancing, drinking, singing, sharing stories round a fire, making merry with your loved ones. The air is supposed to be thick with laughter and incense, sweet-smelling offerings to the gods for a blessed new year. But of course, things are a little different when you've survived under the thumb of apocalypse for 8 long months, and the last kiss is no exception. Traditionally, your captain Shi Yang, the terror of the twin seas, drapes your ship from stern to fore in glowing garlands, fairy lights, silken bunting pillaged from coin-laden mercantile ships. The masts are wreathed in golden leaves, the bowsprit daubed in black and crimson paint. Your crew sings shanties, you knock back top-shelf rum, and for the whole night you laugh and you dance and you laugh and you dance until Gull Tanger rises, loosened fingers dappling the tops of wine-drunk waves. But this year, no wreaths wrap the shrouds, no treasure is shared, not even a single fire is lit by your captain's own hand to commemorate Adolin. Instead, Shi Yang does what she's done for the past 5 months, ever since Mercy left her, really ever since Cleo died. She holes herself up in her fancy quarters and doesn't come out. So now, how you spend Adolin is entirely up, well, to the 4 of you. It's nighttime. The sky is a black aperture above your heads, seething, like the waves beneath your feet. It's cold, colder than Nitbuza's frozen fucking titties, as Shi Yang would have said back when she still cracked jokes. And the fog is thickening. Yes, the fog, dense as deep-sea kelp, white as frenzied clouds by the light of the hanging, ever-lit lanterns, you can still avoid tripping over stray rope or crate or box. Given Shi Yang's propensity for changing the local weather, according to her emotions, it is no small stretch to assume this fog originates from your rather miserable captain. It has also been raining just on your ship, not on the surrounding waters, just the last kiss, for weeks. And beyond the salt-spackled railing of the last kiss, the Hema Sea sprawls into interminable darkness. It's impossible to say what's blacker. The dead sky above your heads, absent of gods or stars or faith, or the silent, churning waves beneath your hull. As the 4 of you count down the minutes until the new year comes, I want to know where each of you are on the last kiss and what you're up to. Let's start with Rahas. What do you look like? And what are you doing on Adolin?
So Rahas is a little goblin. He's got like mossy, like he's like a mossy green, very shaggy, or not shaggy, but like fluffy. He's like a little fluffy goblin. Takes very good pride in his little goblin coat. And he's got big old ears. And he wears a pirate hat. It's a very stereotypical pirate hat. And then also is like, I feel like the look is like it's very stereotypical piratey, like has like a little vest, has like a little, big blouse, like big puffy pants. Like when I say stereotypical, it's like he's cosplaying a pirate, like at all times is the vibe. He's like, ah, and he's got nice boots on. I think like the nicest thing he's got is his boots on. Everything else kind of looks like hand-me-downs, or like a spirit Halloween costume. You know what I mean? And so like Rahas he works like he very specifically works like all the menial jobs. He wants to be doing like kind of is like, oh, like, yes, yeah, what do I need to do? I need to be coiling these ropes. Yeah, right? Like, that's what pirates do. We coil ropes. We mess around with ropes, right? I'm a pirate, Rahas the pirate. That's what they call me. Of course, I coil some ropes. What else do I got to do? I gotta scrub the deck. Yes, I'm scrubbing the deck. So I think, I don't know why I'm so fixated on ropes. I feel like there's so many ropes on pirate ships. Rahas is just, he's managing the ropes right now. He's very conspicuously a pirate. That's because Rahas is a runaway noble. He was a fancy young little goblin lad who came from a wealthy family and was brimming with magical prowess, and then all of a sudden it was gone. He tried to cast some spells and horrible things happened. It didn't work. He couldn't do it. And he goes, whoa, well, that's embarrassing. And so he didn't want anybody else to know that he couldn't cast spells anymore, because everyone would just talk about it at the next gala. Like, he doesn't want to be the talk of the town. That's so gauche. And so he ran away on a pirate ship, bribed his way basically onto Shi Yang's ship, been like, hey, make it look like I drove y'all away with powerful magic. Maybe I died in the process. Just take me away, please. And that's why, that's why he's on the ship right now. He's like, I just want to live a fancy little life, and make sure that nobody knows that I'm actually a disgraced noble. And yeah, I think he's down near like the chef. I forgot what the galley of the ship. Just like, I think like he's got to peel some apples, and he's got to take care of some rope, and he's just having a grand old time down there.
Okay, yeah, maybe we find you down in the galley surrounded by the stinking various spices and gross brackish moss and crusted algae and coral growing on the underside of the slats of wood above your head, and we find you just sort of peeling an apple happily, sitting in the dark, lit by like a little torchlight, a little wick that's been burning down, wax dripping off the edge of a table, but you're just sort of flicking the skin into some trash nearby.
Yes, and you know what I'm doing? I'm talking to some rats. I'm just talking to some rats. Rahas, as a bard, as a bard of the College of Eloquence, can speak to animals every once in a while. I actually, this is like, I need to use this ability, but I think he uses it all the goddamn time, because why wouldn't he talk to rats all the time on this ship? It's like for an hour I could just choose up to 5 creatures called universal speech, and just talk to them as if there's no language for it. So he's just going over like, oh my god, are you saying that Peg Leg Pete doesn't actually need that peg leg? I mean, that's scandalous. Oh Lord.
Yeah, as you peel the skin of your apple and flick it into a nearby bin, we see 5 rats hunkered in the corner, eating out of the trash, eating the stray bits of like apple peel that you've like flicking off with your sharp little knife. And we see one of them has a little peg leg on like a little wooden peg leg you made for him, and like a little eye patch too.
100%.
Yeah,
they're
have you
buddies.
used like all of your targets for all 5 of these rats? Like all 5 of your...
I could.
It's up to you. Okay,
I think
great.
so, yeah.
So all 5 of these rats, you understand them, and one of them goes, Things haven't been the same ever since that cat came on board. And Peg Leg Pete goes, battle scars, that's what I say. Hey, toss me that core. I need to get my strength up. Careful, Peg Leg Pete. The seeds in that core have enough cyanide to just get us out of this. So you gotta be careful where you nibble. Hey, Raz, can you conk out the seeds and give me that core?
Oh, of course, my friend. Of course, my lovely little boy. I would never want you to die. You're already so wounded, you know. But you make it look so well. Oh, that peg leg, you're working it. You know. It's
thank you for fashioning it for me out of a little bit of a thumbtack and a little piece of wood. I think it looks quite fashionable.
You know, I was quite the sculptor, quite the artist. You know, kind of I was a trailblazer back where I came from.
Tell us your stories, Raz.
No, you don't want to
us with your tales. Please tell us your story. The ones about Raz the pirate. And I think as we pan away from this dark corner of the galley of the kitchen, we find another part of the kitchen where, if it's okay with you, Renalis, this happens all the fucking time. Rajas will peel potatoes or garlic or apples in a corner, and you'll just hear him talk, and then you'll hear squeaky, 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 squeak, squeaky, squeaky, squeak. What do you look like, Renalis, and what are you doing?
Renalis, we pan over, and over the stove, you see a very large minotaur. She is got the kind of the pinkish white hair and the little curly cow tufts on her head and on her arms. She's a little puffy cow because the humidity, it's been so damp. She can't, it's uncontrollable. She is wearing just plain clothes, a puffy shirt, an apron covered in flour, as she just shaking her head to the squeaks, trying the best to ignore them. She's probably asked once or twice, and then you just respond to her in squeaks, and she's like, goes back to making bread. She's kind of hunkered down. She tends to make herself smaller because she's a minotaur on a boat. Okay, let's be honest. She's kind of large with the big horns, and you see everywhere in the galley, the door frames have just chunks of wood missing. And if you look at her horns close enough, there's little scratches and scrapes and little pieces of wood stuck in them. So Rajas probably has to constantly pick little bits of wood out of bits of food. And she's just there, knowing that we're not really going to have a big party, is trying to make something nice. That's why you're peeling apples. She's trying to make a little apple pie and apple tarts for everyone on the ship. So she's just muttering because she is a cleric and a chef. So she's making special little treats right now for everybody, all her friends. She's making special little foods, which I could do, which are all healing. So you'll all end up with healing food after this. So remind me to tell you those hit points later. She's making healing apple tarts for everyone. And just muttering in the corner. She's humming a little song. It's kind of more of a mooing of a little song. Just because she's very far away from home and has the need to feed everyone. This is what Trevor telling backstories. Everyone in her tribe starved to death. So she has the need to feed everyone around her constantly. So she is always making food.
I love that. I love that. So Renalis, as you're getting the mold ready, right? And little pies lining it with your crust and getting the tins ready. I think we can feel kind of brimming off of you like heat off of a really, really, really hot stone. Your divine magic.
Yes.
And I think...
my divine magic. I forgot to talk about my divine magic. That's who she's singing to. In the stove, you see her divine magic is a flame, a light, and it's growing as she sings, and she makes this music as it's just kind of singing back to her and humming as it grows bigger, or if it doesn't like the song, it gets smaller, and she has to change the melody a little bit and make it happy as it's demanding the right type of music for the right kind of food.
Yes, and just like Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle, I actually think as we peer into the depths of this flame, as you're tending to it and singing to it and feeding it, we see these two little eyes open up, this little mouth, and these claws. These like charcoal black claws that look very, very, very vicious, kind of like ripping onto the lip of the oven. And peeking out is the emissary that has traveled with you, actually, I think even before the cataclysm, around the, well, of course, the starvation, which we don't talk about. Ever since then, no, we don't. Shuru has been hitching a ride in your soul. And especially after the cataclysm, it's because of Shuru that you have maintained some mastery over the weave. It's why you as a cleric are still able to cast spells when so many others have lost that ability. So we see here Shuru sort of like swaying side to side in this little furnace, like singing along, going, no, I didn't like that one.
Oh.
Well, the run on that one was a little rough. What if we tried it like down here? Yeah, there you go, Renalis. That sounds amazing. You're amazing. And when they say amazing,
thank you.
Yeah, like the fire flares up in encouragement of you as they're guiding you on to like the right kind of trill, the right kind of song, the right kind of lyricism, the right kind of like tone for your voice. And Shrew has always been nothing but encouraging. Honestly, Renalis, maybe sometimes a little too encouraging. In fact,
since we left, they're my best friend.
Of course, and your best friend always pushes you to succeed and become your best self, right? And because as we pan down to Shrew, we actually see like the flames die down back in the furnace as they settle down satisfied, and then they say, Renalis, what are you gonna just do it? Be your true self. Say what's really on your mind. You can accomplish such great things if you just trusted yourself the way I trust you.
She kind of stops making pies for a second. Well, we are doing the best. We have to feed everyone on the ship.
Well, yes, but you can do so much more than just feed people on this ship. You can feed the whole world with me by your side. Don't you want that?
Soon. Well, everyone here's sad, and we should make sure this is everyone's happy and in a good space before we leave.
You keep saying soon, we'll leave soon, we'll embark upon your great destiny soon, but it's been over a year, over 10 months, Renalis. When are you going to actually do it?
Things have been really bad for the last 10 months, and we have to make sure our friends are safe.
And like the fire dies down, little sparks of cinder come out, and we see those little coal black fingers clench along the steel frame of the furnace a little bit harder, and okay. This is a familiar argument. You fall into familiar backs and forths, backs and forths, and Shuru always eventually relents. And as the heat simmers down, I think we pan across the galley up through a layer of thick wood to find Aki Blackbun. What do you look like, and where are you celebrating, Adolin?
I'm up in the crow's nest. It's pouring. You can see kind of at a glance this like makeshift umbrella that's just like sticks like poked up haphazardly with the sheet of canvas over top. And underneath is Aki. Long ears that have piercings in them and little like stretched piercings at the bottom with eyelets in them. Almost black, like chocolate brown fur. Their features are kind of sharp looking. It looks like everything about them is designed to look very sharp. Their front teeth are kind of sharpened into like little points to look really vicious. Their build's kind of gangly, but well muscled. Their feet have little polished claws, like sharp black claws at the tips. And they're wearing little kind of spats that let their feet kind of still be free, but they look like they have little like roll top pirate booties on. They're wearing like a long kind of pirate's coat, and then underneath their clothes are like this weird motley assortment of styles from all over Ondake. Like a shirt that might be completely different than the pants, than the sash around their waist. Just kind of this mishmash of things, and they look really, really annoyed. Aki does not like having wet fur, so this is a serious problem. And they're kind of just like looking up at the sky, remembering, how beautiful these moments were with Cleo, their sister. And she's just kind of like really heavy-hearted, trying very hard to look like they don't care. And their eyes are sort of fixed on Shi Yang's cabin, like wherever her quarters are, like waiting for her to emerge. Also keeping an eye out for Maseho as well, like seeing if there's anybody to talk to. As they're just kind of like lounging, like they're just very idle. Their blunderbuss hangs at their side, their crossbows strapped to their back. And they're really just trying to just get over the fact that it is absolutely disgusting outside, and they are up in this crow nest. It's their favorite place to be. They love using their spyglass to like look out over, the seas, and like, they love being very responsive, being the first person, to know someone's coming, and like holding on to this information. They deal a lot in information. But presently their one red eye and their other dark brown eye are just fixed on this cabin, just waiting for the captain to address the crew and wish everybody a happy holiday.
And Aki, as you wait for a moment that may never come, really, just based on the track record of these past few weeks and months, what fragment of your sister do you carry with you always?
I've always looked up to the softer side of my sister. She was often kind of the middling voice of reason in the three kind of elders on the ship. And that's not something that I excel at all. I tend to be a little more hot-headed. So in moments like this, when I've got nothing going on and I have no decisions to make and I'm just like alone with my thoughts, I just think about the fact that like she would have wanted me to just like continue on and do my best and just, show kindness to people, be supportive. Like I think of like all these little adages that she's told me to kind of help guide me in growing up that I often lose once Shi Yang comes around and I have to like just be in awe of the captain.
Yeah, and I also want to know, what object or garment of your sister do you also always carry with you to remind you of that?
The scarf, for sure. It's like a really colorful scarf that has like this really beautiful pattern that she picked out herself. Like I remember being like at the market when she bought it, and every time like I look at it, like it almost still smells like her. Almost. The rain is not helping that.
Definitely. And I think you can hear just like the soft pattering of rain against your scrimshawed umbrella that sort of fans open like a dark claw over your head as your eyes are still fixed on those captain's quarters. And I think we follow your gaze. We sweep down this long, hardy, salt-spackled wood of the central mast and down across the upper deck of the Last Kiss until we finally alight upon our last PC of the evening and one of the aforementioned three elders of the ship. Maseho, what do you look like and where are you on Adolin?
So on Adolin, I think Maseho is trying their absolute hardest to not pay attention to the fact that it's Adolin. This was their and Cleo's favorite time of year, so they're trying their hardest not to think about it right now. Maseho is a 6'5" tall, just burly built orc tiefling. They have like green olive tone skin, but after so many years of being on the ship, they are a rigger, they work with the masts and the anchors and things like that, that they have like this sun-kissed glow to them that is exposed wherever their skin is exposed. It's a very like iridescent violet sheen that skimmers over their skin, with dark shimmering black pools for eyes, and black shiny ram horns that come up from their forehead and kind of come out and wrap around a bit, and a shaggy, curly, now sopping wet bob that is like white with like a bluish tint to it, almost like a blue grayish type hair color. and they're dressed in just a tunic that looks like it's seen better days. Like maybe it was once kind of big on them, and now it kind of like strains against their muscles. It's cut in like a deep V cut that comes down their chest. You can kind of see like top surgery scars like kind of peeking out from over it, and their sleeves are rolled up to their forearms, where you can kind of see just like nautical tattoos that are just kind of like covering their forearms. And they have just like a regular simple pair of pants and work boots with a long sword strapped to their hip. And they're currently just like, clearly we're probably not going to be going anywhere tonight. So right now they're just kind of like in the rain, letting go of the anchor to let it in on the bay at that point in time, and like running around trying to heave the mats and like kind of close them down and close up shop, because I don't expect anything to go. So
yeah, I think we see you in the pouring rain sloughing across the deck, not tripping, because you have made this walk dozens of times in gushing water before. You heave the anchor up, and this anchor is huge. It's massive. It is heavy. It is iron, and you lift it like it's just a sack of potatoes, and you throw it over the railing, and like the chain ripples and grapples its way all the way down the length of the hull. You hear a splash, and the anchor sinks out of sight, and then you start closing up the sails. Right? You start like closing the sails, pulling in the shrouds, like tying up all the ropes. You figure you're not going to go anywhere for tonight. Might as well stay stationary and have a peaceful-ish Adolin. And Aki, you see this happen. Up on the crow's nest, you see Maseho begin to turn down the last kiss for the evening, even though captain's orders have not been issued.
I kind of look out and try to like take the deepest breath that I can. Maseho! Maseho! Hey! Hey! I take out my spyglass and like I like open it up really wide. I can see you. I know you're looking at me. Hello?
do you see me rolling my eyes?
Do you need help?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Captain didn't say to do that.
Cap doesn't say anything. What's your point?
Should we knock on her door?
Fuck her. And I just go back to rolling the rolling that.
Yeah.
I spyglass away and I sit back down like in a huff.
Totally, yeah. As we continue rolling all the ropes and whatnot, we pan back down into the galley where Aki's voice is so loud. It is booming. It is the voice that raises an alarm. It is the voice that says land ho over the crashing cymbal of thunder, threatening to deafen out everything else. And Renalis and Rahas, the two of you hear it. You hear the entire exchange, mostly Aki's side. What do you do?
Are you done?
Rahas is like kind of walking over with like, you know, a barrel, a basket of apples. I don't know how many apples.
Enough apples.
Enough apples. All peeled, you know, and I go, oh, there sounds like there's something, maybe there's a little commotion up top, you know. You wouldn't want to check it out, would you? It's not really much going on.
1 second. And she like throws the apples and the things and throw them in the oven. I'll take just enough for us. Don't tell anyone yet. The rest are baking. And loads up a bag of snacks and slowly clambers, slams.
Yeah.
Gotta like pull her head out of one of the
I feel like I help you. Like I'm just like, all right, come on.
Goblin helping a giant minotaur.
Come on. Come on, Rin. You got this.
Okay. Let's see what's. Did they sound like they threw something?
I feel like we stopped moving. That doesn't seem right. That feels wrong.
Yeah, there's kind of the classic tugging sensation as anchor hits the bottom of the seabed, and then like there's a rock to the left, a rock to the right, a smaller rock, smaller rock, smaller rock, and then still. And I think all of you become very aware that the anchor has fallen.
That means the anchor is down. We should go upstairs.
We should go. Maybe the captain is out. This may have been captain's orders,
Oh, and she grabs an extra pastry.
Yeah.
One for the captain, her favorite. Just in case.
Just in case.
Clambers out.
Okay.
I like Rojas like peeks. You see the hat and the ears kind of like peek the eyes. Okay. It's not really much going on, I see. And then
Yeah, you throw open the trapdoor and like a deluge of rainwater. Like all against you. And as you start to peek out and like maybe we see behind you Renalis and like your huge horns on either side of your head.
Before Renalis leaves, like, do you want to come along? Talking to the fire.
To Sharu? Yeah, we hear kind of muffled from the oven because your back is now kind of turned toward it. Well, someone's got to keep the pies cooking at just the perfect temperature. Why don't you go on ahead? If anything happens, I'll just jump right back into your soul.
Okay. Good. Turns around and walks away.
Yeah,
As things do, just jumps into your soul.
If something's happening, I'll just go into your soul. And you're like, yeah, door's wide open, you got the key.
Yeah, absolutely. So the two of you clamber out onto the deck?
Oh, yeah. I feel like as soon as like it's raining, Raha's like forgot. Like if Raha's like, oh no, and then like scurries underneath. Renalis like kind of uses you a little bit as an umbrella.
I think we've done this enough that she just kind of keeps walking.
Yeah.
We've stopped.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want a snack?
And you just see like this sopping wet, like 5 foot tall bunny, like take a rope and just swing down, like doesn't even go down the little steps or anything, just like leaps off of it, no care for their person at all, and just holds onto the rope and tries to like swing down and like tries to like land as gracefully as possible as their coat is just like billowing behind them, trying to be really cool.
Yeah, make me an acrobatics check. Just for cool points. Just for cool points.
First roll.
Break that rope. I'm not replacing it.
Okay, that is a 15.
It's good. It's decent. It's decent. Yeah,
it's like okay, right?
Yeah, it's good. That's good. That's decent.
I like slide a little bit when I land. Like my feet like hit the water funny, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
but it's really good.
Yeah.
You
make it look like.
Yeah, I really try. And then I look to you, Rin. I'm like, you said there were snacks.
And I pull out of one of the pockets like a cookie and hand it to you.
Like I lay waste to this cookie. I'm just like,
you have 3 temporary hit points.
You have 3
you get 3 temporary hit points.
I love this. Oh my god.
I feel stronger already. Was it made with what is that stuff? My sister, love. Is it made with love?
Oh my god.
It's made with ingredients. Love is not on the list.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Yeah. So it's still raining.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been raining for weeks at this point. And Miss was like sopping wet at this point in time. Like their shirts practically like see-through at this point in time. And they're just looking so angry. Like their tusks like that jut out from their bottom jaw are just like.
Rin holds out a cookie to you and Ross.
They need a cookie.
I like.
Thank you, Rin.
I'm like,
you both also get 3 HP, temporary HP.
Oh, come on, Miseho. It's the holidays. This is, where's the festivity? Where's the spirit,
What exactly are we celebrating? What is festive about this time of year?
I don't, it's It's another day, and it's a wonderful day. Come on, like literally anybody. I like turn around. I'm like, anybody got anything? I think I found Rusty Jim's gold tooth last night. We can celebrate that,
Where was
it's another
it?
one. It was I'd rather and then I like lean over. It was in the apple bin. Don't tell anybody.
That's
That's
for the
disgusting.
rest of the crew. Don't worry, those were not apples.
Okay.
No, we're fine.
Does it fit me? Can I have it? Will it make me look really edgy and cool?
Why would you want to put someone else's Aki?
I
Oh,
also love that I found
We're
it. but
pirates.
didn't
We can't be so
retrieve it.
soft.
We could clean it. I could
Rin
clean it.
understands.
It'd be fine.
soft is manning the anchors, and they like hold up their hands that are like all callous and blistered.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're like
You
really
should've-
embarrassed.
Don't.
Did the
Pete's
captain
nasty.
call?
Don't put it in your mouth.
Did the captain call for the anchor? Is the captain out?
No, the captain did not call for the anchor. I called for the anchor because the captain decides that she doesn't want to do a good goddamn thing on this ship, and we're clearly not celebrating anything tonight, so I don't necessarily understand what the need for this is. So I threw the anchor down.
But we can celebrate Cleo. This was her favorite holiday, and we could celebrate Cleo together. If you wanted to, I'm right here. If you want.
I'm not in the mood, Aki, but thank you.
Okay. I kind of like size you up a little bit. Whatever pose you're making, Aki like leans back in that pose, like.
Stop doing that.
Sorry, guys, we're not celebrating anything tonight.
What? But didn't we got that like old wine, like that really old wine recently that we told we were going to pop open on a special game. I was really looking forward to that old wine.
We could just go ask the captain for it.
Oh yeah, that's gonna go over really well. Hey, can we? Hey, because that's all you're gonna get to say is hey, because there's not gonna be an answer back.
I mean, it's worth a shot, maybe. I'm but a simple deckhand. There would need to be one of you who asked for the wine.
Fine, I'll go get the damn wine.
Thank
and they
you.
walk over.
Oh, here, take this with you. As she holds
Finally.
like a tart, the captain's favorite tart. Oh, that was funny. That was a weird choice of words. The captain's favorite pie.
Aki wants to be the captain's favorite tart.
Oh my god.
I had you. Whoa.
I think they just like look at you with the pie tart in their hand.
Mhm.
It is just like, and like
If you're scared, I can go with you.
No, the more the merrier. It's the holidays. And then
I
like,
kind of give
push
Aki
you.
a little push forward
Yeah.
to make it like.
You and me.
all right, Aki, come on. And
You want guidance.
let's go.
What does it look like as you cast guidance, Rin?
I'm giving this just I go as I hand you the pie, our fingers touch, and you feel like a warmth go through your body, almost as if like you touched a hot cup or a warm cup. It doesn't get too hot, but it's definitely a warm feeling that grows through your body real quick.
Cool, I guess.
It's the
And-
love. It's the love.
Okay. And just walks over to Treyong's door and then just like 3 like loud, hard bangs on the door. Bring your ass out here.
So the captain's quarters are a large shack on the upper deck by the aft. So by the stern, by the back of the ship. It's sort of elevated on a series of steps, and then the steps go down, and then there's the steering wheel. And this is like huge. Like, I think all of you have at least glimpsed inside Shi Yang's quarters before. It has like multiple levels. It extends down into the hull. It's like a nice place. It's tricked out with all kinds of like nice loot. Like the bed in the back is like 4-poster. There's like magic swirling all over the place. It's really nice. So as you bang 3 times on the door, you say your thing, and just as you expected, there's no immediate response.
I got a wet tart out here.
And a nice
Happy
dessert,
Andolin
too.
or whatever.
There's a pause, and then the door opens. Just a crack. And both you, Aki, and you, Masaho, see just a sliver of Shi Yang's face. And Shi Yang here is an Air Ganassi woman. She has this like rugged leather armor on that she wears all the time, and this long gray-white hair that flows and billows around her face despite this lack of breeze. And she has a very handsome, almost like statuesque kind of expression and visage. Like her jaw is like it's both soft and sharp at the same time, and her eyes are these like piercing, stormy gray. Her like lips are full and soft, even though there's also always a hard, predatory smile etched across it, and her like canines are just a little bit too sharp, right? And on her best days, she billows and commands like a storm cloud. Like every word coming from her mouth is like an edict from heaven. She is a master of the sword and of the spell, and she is just like oozing charisma. But here, this sliver of Shi Yang's face, her hair usually billowing and lucent and big all around her, is kind of straight, and it like sticks to her face and like covers her forehead and sticks against her lips, and she's kind of hunched over, and she's not even wearing her leather armor. What is that? A sheet? Draped around? What is that? And she just reaches out a hand that's like as pale as a cloud, grabbing for the tart with no words.
I said come out, not open the door.
The hand stalls in the air for a half second, fingers curled like hooks, and then retreats into the darkness. And there's like a slamming shut of the door. And then all of you hear various locks. Click, 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 beep, beep, beep. And then the door, she seems to have added more. And then the door opens fully. And all of you, not just Aki and Masaho, but also Rin and Rahas from down on the main deck, see Shi Yang. Silhouetted against the threshold, she has a long white sheet. It looks like a bed sheet, draped around her body. She's wearing, what are those, pajama robes? They look like they haven't been swapped in days. And there's this miasma of just like deep, deep, deep sadness about her. And she is like, there is a literal miniature rain cloud above her head, gushing water. But as soon as the water touches her body, it evaporates, it sizzles, keeping her dry. But it's there for like the effect, right? Give me the tart.
You're so dramatic. Can you just here? And passes the tart over to her.
She snatches it.
Ain't no need to snatch.
Is the ship stalled? Did we hit a coral reef again?
No, I put the anchor down because you won't fucking buck up and command this ship. It's Andolin. Are we going anywhere or not?
Oh, it's Adolin already?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it's fine. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we can stop here. And she reaches down and just scoops out a handful of tart with her fingers and like just puts it in her mouth and starts to eat. And as she does, like she has to use 2 hands to do this. So the sheet kind of like comes loose at the waist, and we see she's just draped in this like sheer robe. There's she barely has anything on, even though it's the dead of fucking winter and it's gushing rain. And Aki, you get just like a glimpse of her chest, her hips, her legs, just a little bit of it, just like peeking through this sheer sheet as she continues to just stuff herself with this like tart. This very sad woman, this like apple smeared around her lips as she just eats like an animal. Okay, whatever. Yeah, okay, we can just stay here and do whatever you want, everyone, for Adolin. Play music, or better yet, don't, because it's going to give me a headache. So just whatever, okay? Captain's orders, whatever.
Can I talk to you for a second, please?
Aren't you already talking to me, Maseho?
Maseho, be careful. I don't know who this is. It's not the captain.
I think Maseho genuinely looks over at you and it's like,
this is some weird sad lady. This is not our captain.
No, it's our captain, all right.
Her body looks like the captain, yes, but the rest of her is not the captain. This is someone else. Our captain is not soft.
Well, that's what I thought too. But who better to discover whether or not if this is the real one than the person who has known her the longest?
Shi Yang, you have pie all over your face.
Huh?
And it's raining, and my fur is very wet, and you look very good, but it is Adeline, and I think we should celebrate if even known just only for Cleo.
Cleo. And at that, she lowers the tart, which is completely hollowed out. Now at this point, she does not eat the crust. She like lowers the tart, and like the tin of it just like fall onto the ground and rolls away sadly at Cleo's name. And her hand, which is smeared with this tart gunk, goes reflexively to something by her chest. And now that the shawl has completely fallen off her body, we see that she's wearing, the only really piece of nice thing that she's wearing is this necklace that she took from the raid on the URL mercantile ship where Cleo, well, the fateful raid, right? We don't really talk about that raid. She had taken this as part of loot, and it's this black obsidian gem, a pendant on a chain that she's worn ever since she has not taken it off. I don't think any of you have even seen her take it off to like shower or anything. And her hand goes to that gem and she clenches it tight. Cleo. Yeah, yes, well, what does it matter? She's dead, isn't she? She's gone. Who cares?
Nobody found her body. Right, Maseho, right? No one found her body. We don't know for sure. And even if she is dead, this is a nice way to memorialize her.
I think at that mention, Maseho kind of like swells up a bit to like their full stature and goes, keep the same energy with mercy.
Oh! Shi Yang's eyes snap to you, and for half a second, you see a familiar rage, a familiar spark, a familiar anything but depression spark in her slate gray eyes. You see it flash as fast as a bolt of lightning. And then it's gone. And Shi Yang says, good one. You got any more jabs you want to lever at your poor, pathetic old captain?
No, because making you any more poor and pathetic than what you look like right now is punishment enough.
Oh,
Happy Adolin, Shi Yang.
cry me an ocean about it, Maseho. At least the raindrops will wipe it away.
Do your job.
My job? My job? And Maseho, roll me persuasion or intimidation. And you can use that guidance if you want.
I was like, you have guidance.
I'm gonna use intimidation because that's higher. You're in guidance is the
My guidance
D4.
is the D4, yeah.
Okay. If the D4 wants to come out. Okay. That didn't do hot shit at all. That's a oh, okay, hold on. 11?
My job is whatever I fucking say it is. If I want to lock myself in my room and cry all day, all night, all week, all fucking year, that's my job because I'm the fucking captain and you're not. And what I say goes. And I say I want another tart, Rin, but easy on the crust. Take the crust off, just the tart and the filling. And Rahas, can you bring up one of those little silly dancing rats or something? I want to look at it. I don't want to do anything to it. I just want to look at it. And that's my plan for Adolin. I'm going to eat a tart and look at a rat.
And
I think Rin just looks at Rojas and be like, just like shrugs.
I know. I think Ross kind of yells over. What about that really old wine that we got?
Oh, that's why you're here. Oh, the 1,000-year wine from the 1,000-year war. This one, and she reaches like out of sight and pulls out an empty bottle.
Oh,
This one? Oh, there might be a few drops left. Yeah, Rahas, you know what? Fucking take it! And in a brief flash of fury, she throws it at you. Do you want to try to catch it for like the last few drops that might be in there?
yeah.
Make me a sleight of hand check.
Oh, okay, good. I am good at that. Woof. That is it's been a little bit. Let's see. That is a 21, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you catch it. I think you fumble, bob, and then poof, you like catch it before it hits the ground and smashes, and there's maybe like a single mouthful of really nice wine left.
I like kind of whisper like, "But that wasn't very nice," you know.
Happy fucking Adolin. And Shi Yang says that right at you, Masayo. And then she backs into the dank, dark-smelling recesses of her dilapidated captain's quarters and slams the door. And on that slamming of the door, Masayo, I think we push in on your face, right? Past your eyes, past like your steeled gaze, past like that darkness, that shadow wrinkling your brow. And into a memory. A memory of the first time you met Shi Yang, of the time that has impressed upon you who this woman really is, who she could be, who she lost. And we find you at the Black, at the Red Lagoon. We pull in on blood-red waters, dozens and dozens of feet away from the central town that's erected itself in the middle of this quay. And we push in on a body, lying limp in the sand, encircled by a tomb of crimson kelp. And these waters wash up and back, up and back upon this body, propelling it further and further up onto the sand until it reaches kind of an apex and doesn't move anymore. So Masayo, what do you look like here? How are you different?
I think Masayo is a bit less built. They're very like, now as you see them, they're very strong and like muscular, like they've been working with their hands and like hard for many years. But at that point in time, Masayo is actually like kind of lanky, but still on like the muscled side to an extent. Their hair, which is now kind of like cropped into a short bob, actually kind of spills back over their shoulders, down to like their mid back. And some of it is up in like a messy top bun, and the rest of it is kind of just all sprawled out across their face and around their head, like covered in sand. And they look a lot more cleaned up. Like their clothes are maybe not necessarily royal, but like they're relatively well-to-do to an extent, but they're kind of like ripped up, and there's like cuts and stuff kind of like all over them, and you see kind of like the green, like mossy colored blood that's kind of like trickling out of the wounds.
Yeah. You're like completely unconscious, I think, in this memory. I think the only actual sense memory you have is like the vague sound of the ocean, like the whoosh, whoosh, like something cold occasionally lapping at your feet, at your calves, something really hot beating down on your head and your shoulders that you later learn is called Galtanger, and the smell of salt. Just salt. It's so thick. It's so bitter in the back of your throat. It's filling your mouth, your esophagus, and you also smell something else. Death. And I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't even know if you know, Maseho, but that death and that salt smell can't be decoupled for you. And it almost feels kind of like both a death and a birth. Because in this moment, the next thing you remember hearing are footsteps. Running footsteps approaching from afar, this pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter, and then a presence, sand, I think, gushing up against your skin. And then I think you are turned around by hands, like these hands grab onto your shoulders, turn you around so you're on your back. And then you feel something hard and intense and rhythmic contract against your chest, like something pressing down on it, down, down, down. And then something touch your mouth. And air blows into your lungs as that soft, life-giving thing continues to touch your own lips. And then I think you feel water sputter up through your body, and reflexively you gag. And I think there's a moment where you choke. You even sit up, you turn around, and you like cough out seawater.
Lots of it.
Yes, so
And
much
sand.
of it. Seawater and sand just coming up in equal measure out of your lungs, out of your mouth, out of your throat, your esophagus. And when you finally turn around, looking very much like a drowned rat, kind of like a drenched person, right? You see her. Kneeling in the sand next to you is the most beautiful woman you've ever seen, because, well, she's also the first woman you've ever seen since you opened your eyes. But she does stand among you as one of the handsomest from that moment onward. Shi Yang. She is dressed in this rugged leather armor. There is a blade strapped to her waist. There's no sheath, revealing this like sharp, straight, double-edged sword. She has this hair. It's like wild, unruly, gray-white hair just spilling past her shoulders in every direction. And it takes up so much space like a lion's mane, and it's billowing, even though there's no breeze in this moment. She's looking at you with storm gray eyes and a crooked smile and a canine that's a little too sharp. Hey.
Who are you? Who are you?
You almost died there. You know, your heart wasn't beating.
I almost died?
Yeah. And she gestures toward the sea to your left, and it's just vast and blue and glittering, and it never ends.
How did I get here?
Well, I assume maybe your ship capsized, or you were thrown overboard, or you walked the plank or something. You washed up here. I don't see anything around you. I don't see any detritus, any debris. Honestly, it's a miracle you're still alive. What's your name?
Maseho. Maseho Kehi.
Okay. Maseho Kehi, where are you from?
And I think Maseho like sits back in that for a second, and then you can see the wheels cogging in their head. I don't remember.
Interesting. Okay. Well, what's the last thing you remember?
I was in a fight.
With who?
Three people? I it I don't it, the details are fuzzy. But I
Were you on a
remember
ship? Do you have any names you can remember? Ugh, even the name of a nation really would be helpful.
I just said I don't remember anything. I Maybe it was a ship?
Huh. And this woman cocks her head to the side, and her hair falls to the side as well as she studies you, almost like a tiger studying its prey. But there's also something strangely soft and attentive in that gaze, like something hungry, like she wants to crack you open and look at what's inside.
Why are you looking at me like that?
What's that? And she points to the ocean. What's its name? That body of water right there. What is that?
The 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 Red Lagoon? How did I
Okay,
get here?
good. So you retain something. Do any of these words ring a bell? Uhanahi, Kirtal, Galtanger, Mahu?
Maybe they sound familiar, but I can't really put much to it.
Huh.
My head hurts.
You
Really
look
bad.
strong. You a quick thinker?
Uh, I'm about as quick as I need to be in a fight. Why?
And without any preamble, she, in a single motion, draws her sword and swings it at you while still kneeling. And how does your, yeah, I think muscle memory kicks in and you just immediately roll, like, out of the way, and her sword gashes against the sand, and the sand splashes up, kind of like onto your arm, and then in like continuing the same motion, she sort of like sweeps her leg out and turns like this, like a dragonfly careening, dancing through the breeze, and she slashes at you again. And how do you like instinctively block it or parry?
I think as she kind of like kicks her leg out, when Miss have flipped over at first, they flipped over and immediately kind of like pounced into like almost like a superhero pose or something along the lines of that, or like they land and like they're on all fours. And as she's getting ready to swing at me again, I kind of like matrix out of the way a bit and like use all of my might to hit her fist and push her sword up away, like out of my peripheral.
Totally. Yeah, you dodge out of the way, and as you hit your fist up, like aiming with incredible precision at her hand, kind of at the last moment before it connects in that final inch, she pirouettes out of the way, and now both of you are fully standing. You're like both fully up, and like entangled in this duet, in this dance, in this duel, and she like lowers her sword as she turns and looks at you. The sword's still at attention, but no longer pointed. And her head cocks over to the other side, her hair falling into her eyes. And then a smile, as bright as a dawn you can't quite remember, breaks across her face, and she sheaths the sword in like a single motion. You're hired.
Hired for what?
I am Shi Yang, the terror of the Twin Seas, they call me. I am the captain of the finest pirate ship in all of Endake, the Last Kiss, and I am in need of a good swords person.
Yeah. You saved me. Thank you.
Well, you are in my debt, And the day you save me, let's call it a debt settled. But until that day, maybe I can help you. Get some answers about who you really are.
That would be really nice. Thank you. And they kind of like reach out their hand to shake, to do like that forearm grip.
Yeah.
Like a deal.
She reaches out, grasps your forearm, and shakes. And on that shake, solid, confident, the future brimming open with opportunities and hopes and promise, we push past the two of you into the jungles of the Red Lagoon, past these emerald ferns, these fat, weird bugs eking their way along twigs, and then the leaves and trees part to reveal the wreck. The wreck is, of course, the name for the town of the Red Lagoon. It is the one and only town here, and it is comprised of beached, broken ships, junks from Toulon, cutters from Nabal, double-hulled canoes from Uhanahi, repurposed by pirates into homes, parlors, inns, taverns. And under the shadow of a massive schooner, sort of flipped upside down and propped up on two of its three shattered masts, now inverted, we see an open-air tavern. And this tavern is manned by a quick half-orc person who is serving beer, wine, ambrosia, even monster blood. They're just slinging it all over the bar to its patrons. And it is here that we find you, Rin, in a different memory. You're following your nose. You've heard the rumor, of course. The legendary meal cooked by a certain masked Triton person. Their name has different variations depending on who you hear the rumor from. Some say soft is their name. Some say kind. Others say gentle. Others say vicious. It's all different inflections. All you know is that there's a legendary meal and it was cooked right here. So where in the wreck of the Red Lagoon do we find you, and what are you doing?
You would find her just kind of sniffing the air a lot, and anything that smells good just immediately beelines that direction and is like trying to figure out, have you heard of someone who is soft and squishy who cooks good? That's not a lot.
Yeah, that's not a really great description to go on.
They were from a boat.
Yeah, that's literally every single person on this island, Missy.
She kind of sits back, and like in her head, she starts kind of talking to her little spirit friend, her little soul friend. I don't know what else to ask them. This is one of the last things we need to find. If we could find this, we could go do whatever you want. I just need to find this one thing, and we could do this. But I don't. Why do they keep saying different names?
Well, and you hear this voice brim up in your head, and it feels like sparking embers and cinder and the warm hug of Galtanger, and Shuru says, well, that's generally how rumors tend to work, but you followed your nose this far, and I'll help you follow it to the very end if it finally gets you to stand up for yourself and become the full person you're meant to be, but I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. What's that smell? It's pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah. And your huge horns. Yeah, you go up.
Something gets knocked over. She has no spatial awareness of herself.
Yeah, the world's tiniest grung person is flung through the air in an arc like a volleyball, and they sort of skid through the sand as you turn, and they go, ah! As they like land at the sand and just disappear. But as you turn and look...
Sure, it's fine.
I mean, the sand is soft. They'll be okay. Yeah. You smell something pretty good. It smells like some kind of maybe like stew or something, and it's quite nice, actually. It's definitely some of the nicer scents that you've smelled since coming here to the Red Lagoon, and it seems to be coming from like a little area that seems to be like an outdoor cooking shack, for lack of a better term. There's like a big old pot set on this bonfire, and it's sort of like bubbling and going, and you see like a line of people lined up against it, and right now there's someone who's this kind of like, for lack of a better term, snotty looking half-orc person who's very like thin and gaunt, and they have like a handlebar mustache that curls up and out, and they're wearing a little like chef top hat, and they are like precisely stirring the stew, you know, with like a kind of like flicked wrist, just with this like wooden spoon. and they are stirring it in front of a woman who is sort of sitting on a boulder. She has this like rugged leather armor on, this kind of like wild, unruly gray-white hair, like a lean smirk on her face as she watches. And this half-orc is going, I am, yes, of course, before I was a pirate's chef, the best, the only, a professional, best, incredible chef at the slumbering palace in the royal kingdom of Chulong. Yes, I was employed by the emperor himself, and this is the best stew you will ever taste, I promise you, and that is why you should hire me and not any of these other scrubs behind me who would know the difference between a potato and a potato if you looked them in the face. Taste. And they take out the spoon, which you realize was a ladle, and they like, and like a flourish, lean it down to this Air Ganassi woman. But Rin, by smell alone, you can smell something that's missing from this stew. A critical ingredient that would bring it from good to great. And you happen to have that ingredient on hand with you, like in your pouch. What is it?
Rin has been trying to be patient and trying to stand in line and queue properly. She's trying to be again as small and as in line as she's supposed to be, and is like, I don't mean to be rude, but I think I can make that better.
That is the funniest, bar none, the funniest thing I have ever heard. Please, my Captain Shi Yang, who you will soon be because you will hire me because I'm the best chef on this fucking island full of degenerates.
A lot for someone who makes food. You should serve the food. And she pulls out a little jar. And it's a jar of chili paste. It's gochujang. She pulls out a jar of gochujang. And takes a little spoon and is like, do you like spicy? Looking at the captain.
And the captain, who is holding the ladle and has not yet sipped it, looks from the ladle to you and says, why, I do. She raises a finger and tastes the soup first before you add the ingredient. She sips it, sort of rolls it around in her mouth, swallows, nods, shrugs, it's passable. And the half-orc chef sort of lets out like a little like condescending sneer, looking very self-satisfied, and looks at you.
And she takes her little spoon, just puts a little bit in it, like kind of mix it up in the ladle. Try it now. It'll have a little bit more of a kick, which will bring out the spices better. Especially on a ship. You're going to be trapped in a small space for a long time using the same ingredients, and you want to be able to spice them up.
She cocks her head to the side, considering you, sort of sizing you up for like your huge frame. There's something so gentle about the way you carry yourself. And she seems to clock that, right? She hones in on it, drawing a bead on it. And then she sips the augmented broth, and you see her eyes widen as she takes in this like new stew, like her head cocks to the side, and then she keeps drinking it, and then she keeps drinking it until like all of the stew is gone, and she even uses her two fingers to swish around the interior of the stew and like kind of lick it off of herself, and then she like hands sort of hands the ladle.
Blushes a little.
Yeah, it's super lesbian the way she licks it, and she hands the ladle back to the half-orc, who looks like they've been struck by lightning, and she doesn't even look at them, and she looks at you and says, what's your name?
My name is Renalis. I have been looking for the greatest food, something about a soft or gentle cook on a boat.
And then her face, which was so like soft and interested in you, suddenly gets like kind of dark. Oh, yes, I know them.
And she just like looks. Would you like a cookie?
Yes, I would like a cookie, Rin. And she reaches out and takes the cookie and says, you are hired as my chef on the last kiss. But I have a feeling you're not just looking for gold. If you're looking for this person whose name is Gentle, by the way, and whose whereabouts may or may not be something I am pursuing, because they're traveling with someone I may or may not be trying to kill or win back, depending on how it goes.
Oh.
Would that appeal to you?
I don't really kill a lot of things, but I can make sure no one dies before then.
Huh. Then we have a deal. And she extends a hand.
And Ren puts out a giant minotaur paw.
Yeah, and the two of you clasp hands / paws and you shake.
And it's one of those, like, even though Ren is so much bigger, like Shi Yang definitely has like the dominant part of this handshake, and Ren's is like half shaking as this is happening.
Totally. Yeah, as the like the two of you are shaking hands, I think above like the oscillating arms, we push past to find the Red Lagoon. Yet again, the same place. But this time, there's something different about the wreck. The whole place looks younger, smaller, fiercer. The wreck itself hasn't adopted as many ship corpses quite yet. That upside-down schooner isn't upside down yet. And there is an air of industry, of enterprise, of hungry pirates elbowing and knifing each other for room. The unspoken codes of the Red Lagoon haven't been conceived yet. There are fewer rules here, and even fewer people strong enough to enforce them. Aki, in this younger, scrappier memory of the Red Lagoon, where do we find you and your sister?
I imagine you would find Aki somewhere like on a playground, like a makeshift playground of other young pirate or pirate adjacent children, having a terrible quarrel, gnashing their not yet filed teeth, like, I'll get you. I'll tear you to limb from limb, like trying to get at whatever person is like in their way. And their sister just like kind of like hand on the back of like their scruff, just like, no, we're not doing this today.
Yeah, I think as we see you like rotting forward in the sand, like maybe brandishing a literal knife, like it's like an actual sharpened dagger. There's that scruff. And we pan up to see your sister, who is a fire genasi person. And her hair is this like molten gold, like it's like a melted piece of jewelry kind of. And it kind of like sloughs almost like magma in these like long locks down like the side of one face, and it's kind of like shaved on one side. And her eyes, like yours, one is red and one is gold. And there's also another family resemblance in kind of like the way she smiles, and we see that her teeth have been like some of them have been filed sharp, like how yours haven't quite yet been. But she sort of like grabs onto you, kind of literally lifts you off the ground, and says, "That's enough, kiddo. Listen, if you gank one more of these kids, they might actually kick us off the island."
But we're pirates! Pirates are supposed to be cool! We're supposed to get crazy! We're supposed to, like, bite and stuff!
Yes, and we will have plenty of time to bite, I assure you, but this isn't the right context.
Yeah, but, like, look at the fear! They're quaking with fear! That's what you want when you're a pirate! Look at their eyes! Oh, they're so scared! Oh, let me get them!
Aki, and she like slowly lowers you back onto the sand. You know, there's a difference between ruling through fear and ruling through respect. Any measly pirate captain can just, you know, gank someone in front of someone else and set an example. But they're one day away from a mutiny. Remember that word? We went over it yesterday.
I know, you said if you're a captain and everybody just thinks you're scary, eventually one day they'll catch you when your pants are around your ankles, and then that's the end of your whole career. But
paraphrase. Yeah. And she sort of squats down so she's eye level with you. That takes a couple of years to develop. You have to establish rapport with your crew. You have to give them a reason to respect you. When you make a promise, you keep it, right? Like this. I promise, Aki, to always keep you safe.
Okay. I promise to always listen. I'll do my best. I might mess up a little bit, but I'll try.
Good. Well, I know I did rob you of your violent delights, but maybe you can sit back and watch your older sister get a score?
Yeah, okay. All right.
All right, you know the deal. When I beat them in a duel, you come forward and you ask for the money.
Demand the money.
Yes, demand the money. It's fine to use fear on passing strangers. They don't really matter. But yes, this time you can. All right, let's see. Who's a good mark? And this is like a common grift that you and your sister pull to sort of get by on the Red Lagoon. You'll like target a mark and she'll challenge them to a fair fight, but then like use kind of underhanded tactics to win, and they both like wager a bet in the beginning. She's looking around at all these pirates passing through this newborn wreck, and her eyes light on her the same time that yours do. And both of you see this Air Ganassi woman. She has a short bob of white and gray hair that's kind of flowing freely by her chin. She carries this unsheathed blade by her hip. She has this kind of half cape on and this rugged, spiked-looking leather armor. She looks maybe around your sister's age, maybe just like 1 or 2 years older, tops. And she's sort of like leaning against a post that used to be a mast, just glancing around, looking kind of bored. You know, she's like tossing a dagger between her hands and just sort of like looking around. And you notice like a look in your sister's eyes that seems to gleam a little bit more than just like money interest, like she usually does. Like she seems like interested in this person beyond just the mark. But she looks at you and nods and says, "Ready?"
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, you there, the pretty face with the short hair. And at that, this younger version of Shi Yang glances up from across the wreck, quirks an eyebrow, and then pushes off the mast and approaches your sister, Cleo. And when she gets close enough, you notice that Cleo is maybe just a couple of inches shorter than this other girl, but you're like, oh, my sister can definitely still take her. Because your sister is like the best fighter in the whole world, right? Obviously, your sister's the best fighter in the whole world. You've never seen her lose, certainly. And she's really, really, really good with her twin daggers. And there's kind of like a moment as the two women sort of size each other up, and maybe you're kind of between them. You're like looking, you know, like you're looking between this Ganassi woman and you're looking at your sister. Yeah. And this short-haired Air Ganassi woman says, all right, what do you want? I don't have all day. Okay, I like your attitude, Missy. How about this? A fair fight, and we'll wager some coin on it. If I lose, I'll pay you double. But if you lose, you only have to pay me exactly what you wagered. Why are the stakes so unfair? Because I'm very confident in my abilities, that's all. Fine. You have a deal. Okay, well, how much coin are you wagering? Please just hand it to my younger sibling here for safekeeping, of course, until the duel is concluded. Usually people like to wager between 3 gold, maybe 7 if they're feeling risky. 100. 100? Well, I don't, Yeah, I have the money. It's in, Aki has it in her pouch. And this woman reaches into a bag, which must be a bag of holding because she reaches quite deep into it and just pulls out more money than you've seen in your entire life, Aki. Just like nuggets upon nuggets upon nuggets, and drops it into like the little bag that you have.
I'm like holding onto it like precariously. It's like overflowing in this like tiny little like side satchel I've got. I'll protect it with my life. And I like brandish my little shank at her.
And this woman says, all right, then let's duel. And Aki, maybe 45 seconds into the duel, you know it's lost. Your sister pulls every trick you've seen her pull, like with aplomb, the pocket sand, the special trick knife she uses that has a second blade coming out of the hilt, that she always like pulls up when she's in a tight spot. The hidden tripwires, like her specific kinds of kicking at the shin and at the back of the knees, everything. But this woman, this other girl, just sort of like her footwork is so immaculate. It's like she's dancing. She's just weaving around and around and around, almost like not scoffing, but kind of laughing almost at each of these like underhanded tactics. And at maybe 1:20, your sister finds herself with her back against the sand and the tip of this woman's spear pointed at her throat. Fuck. You know I don't have 200 gold, right? You can pay it off. And she pulls the sword back and sheaths it in a single flourish and like holds out a hand to your sister. I'm Shi Yang. I know you. And your sister glances over at you and there's a moment of like, almost like concern, fear in her eyes. And then she looks back at this woman. Listen, we don't want any trouble. No. I don't mean harm. I want to hire you. You're good at what you do. You have a couple of blind spots and you rely on her tricks too much. But if you just go at it simple, go at it loud, I bet you could have won that. Well, if not won, at least tied it. I'm not leaving them behind. And I figure you probably don't want any kids on your ship.
I'm not a kid.
Well, you heard them. And we foster talent. That's what I like to do. They'll be safe. And you'll have a steady income. Something to support them with. What do you say? Fine. And your sister clasps her forearm and lets herself be pulled up. But then sort of turns to you and nods. But you're making that same deal with them. They're not just a kid, they're smart. You have to treat them like an equal. Fine. What's your name? And this woman turns to look at you.
I puff up my chest and like straighten my back as much as possible and like lift my ears up a little bit so I'm kind of like taller. Aki Blackbun, nice to meet you. And I hold out my hand for a fancy shake.
Aki Blackbun. And she takes your hand and shakes it. Welcome aboard the Last Kiss.
Thanks, Captain.
And now we push past your big grinning mouth, full of those like two front teeth that haven't been filed down yet. We push past you, past the beginnings of the wreck, past the jungle into darkness. And then we open again on a salt-washed shore. Sand, bleeding into brackish earth. Sprigs of maritime trees bristling against a stiff summer gale. And docked against a beach that is not the Red Lagoon, like a tiger lumbering before a rabbit, we see the Last Kiss, looming above a small harbor town in Jukai. The people of the Nisei tribe quiver before Shi Yang, who stands tall and imposing against the shoreline, one booted foot propped against a storm-lashed boulder. Her hair is long and white and gray and wild past her face. Her eyes are full of this kinetic light, predatory, hungry, laughing. The tian at her hilt glints. Lightning crackles past her shoulders and her cape. And you, Rahas, or rather, Zoran Gleamleaf, you have been sent to parley with her. What do you look like?
Almost like, you know how I said that Rahas is like a Spirit Halloween's costume of a pirate? It's kind of like the same if you were like a posh noble. Like you're like, it's like all poofy and like very lavish. And is like, ooh, like, yes, I'm fancy and I have money. And I am also powerful, and I show it by wasting everything, you know, like, and like, I think like, maybe like also has some sort of like magical kind of robes on, you know, like there's runes on it, like to kind of show that there's like some kind of status there or whatever. And Rahas is currently like for the outfit is like, oh my god, which is just sweating bullets. It's like eyes wide, like, hey, you know, knees weak, you know,
Totally. Yeah. So Zaron, This partly is happening on the heels of the cataclysm when you lost a very certain, very important piece of leverage, which is, of course, all of your magic. It's gone, kaput, gone. But of course, your tribe has no idea that is the case, and still think you are a skilled bard, a skilled magician, as has been your reputation. But basically, you have no ammunition here. You have no leverage, not even a hint of it, as you approach this rather imposing-looking, tall pirate captain. And her hand is resting on the hilt of her tsian. She's kind of like looks down at you, like cocks her head to the side. So, where is it?
What?
All of your gold, of course, my sweet Nisei delegate. All the gold your stuffy little, rich little tribe has in their coffers, every single coin, every single piece of lint within those coffers, or we raze your home to the ground.
Well, you see, I mean, if you think about, I mean, that's just so much gold. It'd probably sink your ship, you know? Like, why take it all? Why, you know?
So you have enough gold to sink my ship?
I mean, no, we have barely enough to get by. You see, like this, Nisei is but a poor town, filled with, you know, it's all invested, you know. It's like, you know, say we don't actually have real gold anymore. You know, gold isn't, the bank isn't filled with gold, it's filled with investments, you know.
Yeah, as your voice rises, I think one of the village elders hears this, kind of like standing maybe like 24 feet away at the shoreline, and pipes up and says, "It's true! All of our money is in too long an ox cart stock, and it just plummeted after the cataclysm. We have nothing! We have nothing!"
No, absolutely not. But you know, we do have, I like look back and I go, we are brimming with knowledge and magical prowess.
That's right! Zaron here is an accomplished mage! Zaron! Attack her! Kill this marauder trying to strike down our home! And you hear the entire village erupt in cheering and encouragement, like, yes, Zaron! Unleash your magic! Go, Zaron! Champion of our village! Champion of Nisei! Like, everyone is, like, shouting and, like pumping their fists into the air.
Yes, this is your last chance to back away before I like kind of pull out like a violin. I think like I have like a little, and I'm like starting to I like just tune it. I take out a little resin block and I'm like, you know, this is your last chance.
This woman just sort of like looks at you like 2,000 feet away, like at your village, cheering you on, and looks back at you, kind of leans in and says in a voice only you can hear, "You and I both know that the weave is empty around you, right?"
You see him like almost drop. He's like, "Oh, that's it." I like look back. I think I send. I'm gonna try my damnedest to like send a message. Like I like use a message catcher, and I go, "Please, please don't tell them."
Yeah, I think it works. It like sparks past the little bit of the weave, like only enough for you to use cantrips and other like useless little enflourishments, and it sparks in her head. And she cocks her head to the side, and she responds like her own magic reverberating in your head. That's, for some reason, it's so unfair, Rahas. She still has magic, but you don't. It sucks. The cataclysm didn't hit everyone the same, right? But you hear her voice in your head, so it's only you that hears. Why haven't you told them yet?
It's social suicide, basically, and this everything. So, you know, it's nobility isn't what it's all cracked up to be. It's a lot of work and a lot of just rumors and titles, and you know, this is kind of what I have, and if I don't have it, then what else do I have? And you know, and then I stop being invited to parties, and you stop being invited to parties, you stop being invited to, you stop, you have nothing basically, right? Like money is nothing. I have so much money, but it's really worth nothing anymore. If they don't know I have magic.
I think that's definitely past the character limit for
Yeah.
message.
No, so it's just rambling. Yeah,
it
and then it
rambles
gets
out
cut
of your
off.
mouth. Yeah, like it stops in her head, and then you start like saying it out loud.
And then I just
when
start saying,
yeah. Yes, the trappings of civilian life. It's why I left mine behind. I used to have to deal with some of this while on the other end of the spectrum. I was never quite a noble myself. But we all have our masks to wear. We all have our roles to play on solid ground. But out here on the sea, you can be whatever you want to be.
anything?
Anything.
So like, I am, let's say, I throw this life behind, right? And I become like a pirate. I do piratey things. I learn new trade, What is it? What's life out there? Sorry.
Oh, it's beautiful. There is glorious violence and honor and plunder, more gold than beyond your wildest dreams, but the gold feels full, not empty. 'Cause you earned it. 'Cause it's yours. 'Cause you took it by your own hand off of the backs of some rich whoever's in their mercantile ships. And the sea calls to you and it sings your name. And you're whoever you want to be.
So no more Zaran Gleebleaf, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying, Zaran Gleamleaf, is play dead. But put up a good fight. Give them a show. And without any further ado, she draws her sword in a sudden flurry, and through just her magic, she makes it look like sparks fly off of your violin as you start playing it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm like, oh, a performance, perfect. It's like, okay, and is playing a bunch of stuff, is maybe even pretending to
cast a spell. Yeah, as you throw your arm out, you see her flick a wrist, and a huge gout of flame explodes from your hand and at her as she spins around and she parries against the side of your veal with her Tien.
Yeah.
And the two of you duel as your village is screaming, your village is shouting, they're cheering for you. There are people weeping, openly weeping. The dogs are barking, right? There are priests praying and praying and praying for you. People have flung themselves down onto the sand and are bowing and they're cheering and they're frothing at the mouth. And then eventually the duel takes you to the edge of the ocean as you're surrounded by this whirling flame and licking tongues of lightning and this storm cloud and sand just whoosh, and these huge vicious gales. And she says amidst the chaos, all right, what are your final words? Make sure the audience hears.
It's don't fret, dear Nisei. I have her in my clutches. I will protect you all forever. In this moment, Zaran Gleamleaf gives himself to you, for you. Be gone. Do not mourn, but celebrate. And then I just kind of throw my body out, as if I'm exploding.
Yeah. She flashes her arm with thaumaturgy, happens, and there's a huge firework explosion of magical energy, and she stumbles backward very convincingly, and then she casts invisibility on you, and you're gone, and you're gone. There's just scorch marks on the ground, and the village gasps, and Shi Yang says, Oh, I am so terrified of Zaran Gleamleaf's incredible magic, I will not ever raid the shores of Nisei tribe again because of Zoran Gleamleaf, your savior and your martyr. Oh no, the terror of the Twin Seas has been down. And she just like sort of like goes back toward the ship and like climbs up slowly as she continues to eulogize. And you're like climbing up, I think, next to her. She's just sort of like saying out the corner of her mouth, come on, hurry up. We don't have all day. She like finally gets up to the railing, hops on, right? Like the anchor's hauled up, like the sails let out, and she continues to eulogize, like, remember his name forever, carve an effigy of him and mount it upon the shore where I was bested, bring him gold every year, real gold, not that fake stock shit. And, like the ship continues to sail off as that happens.
I think like I guess Zoran still is like, thank you so much, but why me?
She sort of like lets out a deep, satisfied breath as the ship starts actually sailing and your invisibility sloughs off, right? And you stand up by the prow next to her.
Yeah.
She looks down at you and says with a smile, because I needed a new powder monkey. Our last one blew up. And on that, whoosh, we like cut back to the last kiss. As rain still continues to thunder down and the door slams shut with Shi Yang behind it. And I think for some reason all four of you remember these first moments of meeting her, right? Like as the door closes, as this sad, hollow ghost of the woman that once saved you, that once changed your life around for the better, that once helped you, that once took care of you, seems to be gone. And then all of you feel it. You feel it at first. The weave, contracting like a pulled muscle. Threads of magic biting into the flesh on your souls like razor wire. The weave around the last kiss hangs low, hangs heavy, hangs tight, as though a bowling ball had been dropped into the center of a net. And then you smell it. A scent like drowned salt, harsh and bitter against the backs of your throats. A sunken wound, a rotting corpse, a submerged brackish divinity. Salt and death. And then you see it. 1 shadow, 2, 3, 4, rising out of the waters on either side of the last kiss, 6 feet tall, 12 feet, 18, 25, thrashing, coiling shadows that you now realize are limbs, are muscle and connective tissue covered in suckers, rimmed by razor-sharp teeth and a thick, dripping white film and macejo. He's here, your patron. And we're going to cut to break. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in so far. We'll be back in 10 minutes to see what the hell's happening on our little found family here. Enjoy the music and see you in 10. Bisho, bisho. Hello, everybody. It is so good to see your digital non-existent faces in the chat yet again. Thank you for staying by us as we work through some tech issues. I'm actually going to take a little bit of time now to just fix the cams on screen because I'm unable to see our overlay when I'm in studio mode for some reason. So I'm working like a bat in a coal mine. That's not the right one. I'm working like someone who's not a bat. Good enough. You know what I'm trying to get at. So I'm just going to fix Viditya here is getting fixed right over here on live. You see it here first, folks. The amazing light show that is Connie Chong and my incredible players right here, right now. There we go. Everyone looks pretty great. Wonderful. Okay, cool. Welcome back to Shoot Your One Shot, everybody. Thank you for hanging tight through those tech issues. Let's get right back into the session. It's sure to be a rollicking good time. So as a reminder, here are some content warnings for this particular episode. They include fantasy violence, apocalypse, complex and complicated relationships, depression, grief, romance, references to sexual entanglement, toxic relationships, manipulation, memory loss, amnesia, references to eye gore, vast bodies of water, storms, depths, the threat of drowning, body horror, monsters and monstrosity, and leviathans. That's a lot. So use !CW at any time in chat for a full list of those content warnings whenever you want and or need a refresher. And with that out of the way, let's get right back into the session. Masaho, you know your patron by one name in particular. Kunan. The one that had roused your bones through salt-drenched drowning after Shi Yang birthed you awake. Kunan. A leviathan of the deep, an emissary of Mahu, you think, or the Raven Queen, or both. A sculptor of misery and power, who animates your bones now and gives you magic through which you can wreak your own and its will. And I need all of you to roll initiative.
Oh, it's happening. Everybody calm down. It's happening.
Got this. Okay.
10.
Great.
16.
18.
All right.
8.
16 from Masaho. Who got a 10 again?
I did.
Aki. Okay, 10.
We're in size order, I think. Our initiative.
Oh my god, are we? Yeah, I think we are.
Honestly, yeah, I think that's about right.
That's so funny. Rin got an 18.
Yes.
What did Rahas get?
An 8.
An 8. That is hilarious. Okay, so first to act is going to be Rin.
The
So
cleric.
Rin, You and Rajas are back on the main deck, kind of by like the main mast in the center of the ship. And on either side of you, equidistant from where you are in the center, are these like huge, lashing, shadowy limbs, all sucker and razor sharp bits of spike coming off of the sucker, and this like thick kind of slimy white liquid sloughing off of it. And they're definitely coiling with violent tendencies here through the fog, 100%. What do you do?
Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. What she would do is immediately, this is a threat. We know this is a threat. And you see her stomp down and like kind of almost grow taller, but also shorter as like in a defensive fighting stance. And you, I don't know, I guess feel it. The ship kind of shakes as these are my friends. And she's going to call on Shururu. And by doing that, actually is going to cast Spirit Guardians. And what you see is almost a anime sign, like the fire goes through the ship, through her, out her body. Her hair floofs out. It's kind of ridiculous. Her hair floofs out. She's dry all of a sudden. As the flames almost mimic the Kraken and surround her. And of course, all of you are protected, and anything in a 15-foot distance is in her little bubble.
Yeah. I think as you feel your emissary return to your soul from the oven, there's kind of like that warm spark, like a nice hot drink in the dead of winter, blooming across your sternum as divine and radiant light explodes off of your skin and off of your body. And you hear Shuru go, Rin, can you see it? Can you sense it? It's why I always told you to be careful of that one. Just look. Let me help you. And you feel, I think, your eyes beginning to burn like coals in your sockets, but not painfully, with this kind of true searing light and vision. And as you cut across the fog, like across the air of the ship, you feel Shuru trying to point you in Masejo's direction. Do you look?
Yes.
As you look, Rin, you see a kind of like white miasma, whiter even than the fingers of fog curling in on top of this deck, surrounding Masejo. And it's the same exact kind of like death-flecked salt energy that's like irradiating off of these tentacles. Like it's one and the same.
Oh man. I know Masego would never hurt me, I think. But I think I'm a little fueled by this, and I have no more actions anyway, but I'm going to run at Masego, but at the last second pivot and just like hunker down in front of them as like a protective, but also you're within distance in case I need you to be. And yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah.
They don't take damage until the start of their turn, correct?
True. I'm not exactly quite sure how that works.
Let me double check.
Also, just as a note, for Yurin and for every other hero on this ship, because this is a one-shot, feel free to just, like, pump everything you've got in this, like, first turn. Like, who knows how many turns there's gonna be left, right? So if there's something you want to do, Rin, you can just ask for it, even if you don't have an action left, and this is true for everyone else. Like, even if you're out of spell slots or whatever, like, you can just ask for it. And I think, the worst that'll happen is I say, I can give it to you at cost. Or are you willing to pay a devilish price?
But I'm gonna ask for something. As I turn, and the summoning of this, my spiritual weapon also comes out.
Hell yeah!
And it is a giant. It was gonna be a ladle, but now the ladle is represented. It's a giant whisk that pops out.
The prop,
but made of fire. It's a fire whisk.
That is amazing.
And just kind of hovering around, waiting for anything to get close enough to hit. And
hell yeah!
Nothing would take damage until it started its turn.
Okay. The start of the turn of the thing you're trying to hit?
Yes. Anything that is going to attack me.
Got it. So this whisk Totally, like floats up and explodes into light like a miniature Galtanger, shedding these like sharp, long parhelions of radiance just all across the ship as we see each strand of that whisk, I think, rippling into existence. And Rin, because I am a lovely and evil GM, I'll let you make an attack. A free attack if you want, with the whisk against a target of your choosing if it gets to hit you back.
Bring it. She's in attack mode. She wants to protect her friends. This is all she cares about is protecting people.
Go for it. Make an attack roll.
Oh, 18 plus 7.
25. Yeah, that would hit Tiamat. So yes, roll damage. Which limb are you targeting?
Whichever's closest.
Okay, I mean they're equidistant, and there's maybe like 3 or 4. It's hard to tell. There's several on either side of the ship.
Okay, whichever's closest to my right.
The starboard. Okay, so the whisk kind of like flies forward, leaving this like smoky, bright trail in its wake, and roll damage.
That was a 1 plus 4, so 5.
Okay, what does it look like as the whisk cuts through the fog and attacks?
As it hits, it's almost like a spray of sparks, like flour from when she's cooking. It just mimics her cooking because he spent so much time with her now, and that's what he equates with her passion.
I love that. Maseho, make a con save.
$22.
That is a success, so you will take half damage. The damage halved that your patron took, as there is like a fundamental bond between the two of you. Their pain is your pain, right? Your misery is their misery. Your suffering is theirs to take, theirs to wrap up in their tentacles and pull down into the deep. And you feel that same kind of like radiant sear explode against your own body, your own soul, but halved is only 2. So you're gonna take 2 points of fire damage, I assume?
Yes.
Fire damage, okay. As a little bit of spark rolls off your shoulders as well. And we see this big tentacle kind of lash backward into the fog, and it all seems to disappear against this like miniature sun glowing in the fog. And then, Rin, it slams forward so fast. How could an object so big be so fast? It like topples down like a tower falling. And you... What is your armor class?
18.
You are going to take 31 points of bludgeoning
damage.
damage.
More than 5.
That's a lot of fucking damage.
Yeah, this big old fucking limb just slams down, and we see. What's the last thing we see, Rin, before it like smashes, tries to smash you?
She just looks up with just pure panic and surprise that this is even like, oh no, did we get in too deep? This is a god. What did you talk me into?
Yeah, like your eyes widen, your horns go back as a shadow falls over you. And Maseho?
I have protection. So if Rin is within 5 feet of me, that attack's at disadvantage.
You are at the captain's door, which is halfway across the ship. I will give it to you. I'll let you, not on your turn, run toward Rin if you will take the damage instead.
As my movement, I ran and stood in front of them.
Oh, that's right. Oh, no, you're right.
So
I'll take that back.
I'm defensive in front of them.
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Okay, great. So you have it for free. That attack is at disadvantage. I will roll it again. Fair play, fair play. Okay. You will take half damage. So as the tentacle smashes down, instead of, did I roll a 31? Is that what that was?
31.
You will take 15. You take 15 points of bludgeoning.
Same reaction from Rin, by the way.
Yes. Maseho, how do you intercept? What does it look like?
I think as soon as I see this tentacle or whatever just kind of fall, it's like one of those quick like with my elbow type and just like push her out of the way with like all of my strength as best as I can.
Okay, yeah. I think there is a push, but it's a big ass fucking tentacle. So you're still like kind of clipped on the side by it, but you don't take the full brunt of it. And there is a massive cracking noise as like the floor of the wood boards just crack, 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 splintering all the way down, like heat erupting open the trunk of a tree. And these bits of like wooden planks just fly through the air, like splinters just go everywhere. And this like big spray of salt water also flies outward. And all of you see these spikes on the edges of these huge suckers, which are as big as your heads, just spinning, 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 gnashing, gnashing, gnashing. Like they're not only suckers, they're also mouths full of teeth. And then this huge tentacle starts to pick itself up off, and it's like a massive, its shadow is cast over all of you, there by the captain's quarters, over Aki, over Maseho, over Rin, and as the tentacle starts to rise, all of you also feel a presence. It's on either side of you, and it's underneath you, and it's everywhere. It's in the fog itself. Yes, this preternatural fog, which now that you think about it, it doesn't quite feel like Shi Yang's cadence of deep wallowing self-pity and sorrow. It feels like the same kind of white slick, icking off of the tentacle and radiating off of Maseho's soul. As the tentacle rises, this presence thickens, and the mist also thickens, and all of you feel the emissary. It is huge. It's underneath you and around you, and it is hungry, and it is eating. It's eating, even though it hasn't grabbed any of you and taken you down into the depths, but it is actively feeding. There's a sense of something being sucked out through the air, maybe even out through all of you, but that sense hasn't been crystallized quite yet, as we're gonna pan down the shadow of this tentacle toward you, Maseho, as you look at one of the limbs of your patron. What do you do?
Remind me what the patron's name is again? Was
Kunan.
Kunan, okay. I think at that, Maseho stands to their full height again and is like huffing, and they're not having a great Annalyn. Like it's everything about this sucks. And now their patron is being an asshole. So I think they kind of just like step back and are just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, we can just talk like normal people. That's totally a thing that could happen. You don't have to come and ruin Tilk.
You say this out loud?
Yeah.
All of you hear a voice booming through the fog, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, as if every single particle of mist were an arcane loudspeaker. You hear it thrumming against your skin, inside the marrow of your bones, against the wet of your pores. And this voice rings out and says,
but it's so much more fun if we talk this way, Maseho. I raised you from the depths. This is what you owe me. Then we talk.
Have it your way then. And I think at that point in time, Maseho casts Armor of Agathis on themselves.
okay.
And just goes and like unsheathes their long sword and kind of just like stands at the ready to pounce and attack. And it's just like, you want to dance? Let's dance. And they're gonna swing.
You attack the limb that's like rised up in front of you.
Mhm.
You're gonna attack your own patron?
Yeah. Don't
Okay.
fucking attack my ship. Damn it. I
Okay.
said we can speak.
So make an attack roll at disadvantage.
Cool. 14?
That would not hit, but I will let you roll damage if you get hit as well. If you also take a blow of some kind.
They're shelling out pretty heavy hits. I'm gonna hold back on it just for a second. Yeah.
Does your echo come out?
I think, yeah, at that point in time, their echo does manifest.
What does it look
itself.
like?
So Masaho doesn't necessarily recognize their echo, because it's a former version of them. They're much younger. They are still that same kind of like gangly but muscular tiefling orc, but their horns are kind of adorned with like chains, like gold chains that kind of like, especially one on their right side, the tip of their horn, it kind of caps, there's like a chain that attaches and kind of caps to the tip of their husk. And while their shirt is still kind of low cut, what you see instead is like bandages kind of like wrapped around like a bandolier, kind of binding them down. And they just stand there and they look like, if you thought Masaho was like angry and just like just not the most pleasant of people to be around, you should see this version. They're way more angry, more like more ferocious, more like they live off of fighting, and fighting is the one thing that kind of brings them peace. So like this is their happy spot, and so that's what you see.
Ah, yes, the echo, a ghost of your former self. What broken promises have you cut your feet open upon in the service of your shattered captain, my dear, dear warlock? She has promised to show you the truth of who you used to be. And yet, what have you discovered? Nothing but this excuse of what? A family, this excuse of a leader. I can peel back the fog of memory and reveal to you who you truly were, if you do my bidding.
And I think that when their patron reminds them that, yeah, Shi did promise to help me remember, and she hasn't. And Masaya kind of just looks up and goes, "We can talk. Do not hurt my friends." And they sheathe their sword back.
So much less than what you used to be.
Is there anything else you'd like to do on your turn?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it at this point in time. Their echo is kind of like standing off to the side of them. They don't really tend to acknowledge it, though. It just kind of fights alongside them.
Okay, yeah, you look off, you lower your sword, you sheath it, even as these tentacles continue to repel all around you. And all of you heard that. All of you heard every single word coming out of Masayo's mouth and out of the fog everywhere all around you. This is like public knowledge now. So as we pan away from Masayo, we're gonna push across the ship. Not across the ship. As we pan away from Masayo, we're actually going to find Aki, also clustered here in this trio. What do you do?
I'm banging on the door this entire time. The captain's quarters like, "Please, Shi Yang, something's wrong. Please come out. Please, we need you. Please." Trying to get them to like come out.
Yeah.
And then I think I have a rope of entanglement.
Ooh.
And I like whisper to it like, "Rap," and I try to like throw it at the nearest at whichever of the tentacles looks like it's going to come back down on Maseho and on Rin.
Okay, how does the entanglement work? Do I make a save?
So it says that you have to, yes, you make a dexterity saving throw, and there's a 15 you have to beat.
Okay. That is a natural one. So
Hot dog!
Tell me what it looks like, and I'll give you something good on top of it too.
So I pull out this rope, and it's like this, like as I whisper into it, it goes from being this like plain looking kind of hempen rope to kind of glowing this like kind of silvery looking kind of shimmer over top of it. And I kind of try to lasso it, and as I let it go, and it kind of flies up in the air, it opens to the size that it needs to be to kind of latch on to one of the tentacles and like brings it back down, like right next to the two of them, all bound and wrapped up.
Yeah, it slams down. There's like a huge, massive shaking across the ship, a big rocking actually from left to right as like the anchor is like straining against one side of the ship and this tentacles weighing it down from the other. And we see this net like weigh it down, trap it. And it's thrashing like a caught shark, right, in this net, like a fucking whale, as it's like rippling and rippling and rippling, all muscle and force and violent intention, like bits of salt and wave are flinging up into the air and splashing against your faces as it like wriggles and struggles. But yeah, it's caught. It's down. And the door to the captain's quarters opens and Shi Yang comes out. And she's no longer just dressed in like a kind of sheer pajama robe. She has on half of a pauldron. She's shirtless. Half of a pauldron is on. We can sort of see that she has these like top surgery scars on her torso as well. And she has these kind of like baggy pants on and this belt. And her tien is like half in its like holster and half out. She looks still really bedraggled and like disheveled. But there's something in her eyes that is a cousin to shock and concern as the door flies open and she looks. What? Fucking abuseless frozen fucking titties. You know, I could do without this for just one goddamn evening.
Maseo's in trouble. We really need you. I've got it down. And I look at and I point at like all the tentacles. You leave us alone. If you let us go, I'll let you go. Otherwise, you're gonna get it. I'm like gnashing my teeth, like
at the tentacle.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the tentacle continues to thrash underneath like the net, but that one is like basically incapacitated. It can't move. As long as you keep the net on it and don't command it to do anything else, that tentacle is out of commission. It like cannot do anything else. Is also what that net one means. Shi Yang casts her gaze like across the ship, looking at you, Aki, and then looking at Maseho as you say their name. There's a beat, a moment, a gasp, a breath. And then Shi Yang says, This is the presence that hung in the back of my throat when I found you. Maseho, this is your patron, isn't it? The one you've mentioned before, but only in passing. What does it want? Why is it here? I have moping to get back to.
Maybe. And I think as Maseo like looks back over, they just kind of like get like this look in their eye, and it's very pointed as they look at Shi Yang, and it's just like, maybe they're hoping you get your shit together and run this ship like what you promised to do for us. Maybe that's what they're waiting for.
I doubt an emissary cares so much about such fruitless human quabbles. And did you call it here? Did you call it here to attack my ship? To what? Push me into a rude awakening? You really think that's going to work?
If I did it, I would have done it months ago when you started cutting up.
Cutting up. You know, I actually find it fascinating that you're not more dour. You too! And she turns and looks at you, Aki. Cleo died, and both of you are acting like her life was worth nothing.
You don't think I know that?
then why aren't you in a dark hole with me?
Because I have something to run here. Unlike you, somebody has to run this ship.
Oh, so that's what this is about. A fucking mutiny. Is that
It's not a fucking mutiny. I want you to do your job.
What,
We believe in
could do it
you.
better?
You've just got to be better. You've got to be your best self. And Cleo wouldn't like this. She wouldn't like you sitting around like crying all the time. Look at yourself.
You know what, Shi Yang? To get a rise out of me, you always bring up Cleo's name. I know what she meant to me. I just don't sit there and wallow in self-pity now that she's gone. I've accepted that.
I am grieving. I am processing. I am showing an ounce of mortal emotion. Forgive me for having a heart, Maseho, which is perhaps a foreign concept for you. And Aki. And she whirls on you, Aki. And like the hair that's so limpid and like straight and sad and soggy and drenched begins to rise just a little bit. Off of her shoulders, beginning to like balloon outward. All your years of growing up on my ship, you have never spoken to me like that. What would Cleo say? Indeed.
She would say that if she's gone, you're supposed to take care of me. And I'm supposed to take care of you because we're supposed to be a family. And this isn't a family.
Rahas and Rin. As this argument, this confrontation is occurring, I think because the two of you aren't directly in it, you feel it. Both of you make me a perception check.
Ooh, what is my perception? That is like a 16.
All right. What about you, Rin?
9.
Okay, Rin. You notice all of the lashing shadows of these tentacles seeming to like thrash even harder as the fight's happening. They even seem to like get bigger. Like rise, become more menacing, and the fog is thickening too, and the weave is tensing even more, and you feel Shuru in your cradle of a soul sort of like whisper up like a errant smoke from bonfire. Oh no, that's not good. That's not good. That's what it wants. That's what this is about. That's what it wants. And Rahas, you feel all of this. And you also, as a bard, as someone who was formerly very connected to the weave, I think you can like draw the lines of the weave together to point to a logical conclusion. This thing feeds off misery. It is becoming more and more powerful the more the three of them argue. And it seems to relish in it. That's what it was eating this whole time. It doesn't want your bodies. It doesn't want your minds. It wants your misery. Speaking of which, Aki, is that the end of your turn, or is there something else you'd like to do?
Aki is just kind of silently crying with like really angry eyes, and like their red and black eyes are just like shining super bright in this like rain, and their fists are kind of like balled up, and they're just kind of like staring Shi Yang down, just like done.
Absolutely. And you're crying. I think you're reverting back to that, like, almost like a childlike place of, like, your big siblings are fighting, and you want to stop, and you don't know how to make it stop, right? And we pan across your crying face to Rahas. What do you do?
I think Rahas is, like, watching all of this, is, like, terrified of these tentacles. He's a little goblin guy, not made for fighting. Is really what it is. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna get crushed. I am a fly on like the wall for this thing. and sees all the connections. And I think like in almost like a panicked state starts like pulls out his violin to choose it real quick. And is there like a shanty that we normally sing on Eidolon, like as a crew?
Yes, there definitely is. I will let you decide what it's all about and how it goes.
Oh my god. I'm really bad at singing on the spot, which is or like kind of coming
That's
with that.
totally
So
fine.
it's like it probably is just like a jaunty kind of like drinking song, I think is the thing. So it's like it's theory about cutting loose and just like panicking. I start playing and I start kind of singing it like, hey, oh, take a pint and pass it down. Hey, oh, like slam it on the table and down the pint, like, and you're like, I'm like, hey, oh, like, please, God, I am just like doing a little jig too. Like, it's almost like Ross has like lost it, but it's like, come on, y'all, it's the holidays,
Moms are fighting, and this tiny goblin is like, look at me doing a jig, please stop fighting.
Please do a jig. And it's like, I want to like, I don't know if there's necessarily like a spell, but I want to see if maybe I can like pull some magic into this. Like, have this cut through the fog and the misery, actually kind of like get to the ears of like Miseho and Aki and Shi Yang.
What emotion and heartfelt plea do you weave into your song?
I don't know, like the first it's it is that like togetherness. I think like to like Aki's like, we're supposed to be a family and we're not right now, right? Like we lost somebody and because that we lost ourselves. So it's like it's that like I don't know the word, but it's the feeling when you have dinner together, right? Like it's that feeling of like it's that emotion of like a warm family dinner.
It's the holiday spirit.
It's the goddamn holiday spirit.
It's the fucking holiday spirit, Rahas. The thing you've wanted to share with your family this whole time, the thing you were talking about with the rats about, that you were talking to Rin about, and now you pour your heart, you pour your soul, you pour what's left of the withered weave within you into the strings of your viol. And your song rings forward through the fog. And Aki, I want you to tell me, what warm vision bubbles up for you? Aki. Yeah. Yes, you, my love. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
I thought you were just like
so
thinking
enraptured by
really
this,
intently.
I was in the.
I did too.
Oh my god, like this is so beautiful. Okay. For me, it's probably my first holiday on the ship, and I can see myself like I'm young, and my sister gives me the scarf for Christmas, like for this holiday season, for this New Year's, and like I kind of like open it up, and she has one that looks just like it, and we both have this like really cute scarf, and I remember kind of like looking up and just like seeing everybody's faces like really happy. We went and like pillaged like a really giant ship, got this like really amazing haul from it, like had people like tied to the mast and stuff. It was just a really good night, and that's how I'm feeling. And like as I'm like looking with like these tears in my eyes at Shi Yang, like I start to kind of like see like who she used to be to me, like how I get filled with this sense of like safety and comfort. And like I look over at Masaho and I'm just crying, like I'm just overcome. And hearing this. Like, this is one of the songs that definitely reminds me of my sister.
And as you look over at Maseho, why don't you tell me what warm vision curls up for you?
Phew. I think for Maseho, it's kind of the same, but a little opposite. I think it's probably that same night, our first holiday together as Akis. However, it's later that night. Everyone else has kind of fell asleep and has like wound down for the night. And it's just me and Cleo. And we're like laying in like my quarters together, and we're just like laying in bed, like skin contact to skin contact, and I have like my windows open, and we're just kind of looking out and letting that salt breeze kind of just come into the room and envelop us. And it's the first time we ever said I love you to each other. And that's the moment that comes up from Maseho.
Yeah, in that moment, in that ecstatic, terrified pause after the first person says I love you for the first time, and then the response and the confirmation and the giddy laughing and the laughing at your own laughing, and then the holding and the kissing, I think that's like maybe the first and only time where you feel connected to Cleo's soul. Like the bond you have transcends the body. It transcends the now. You're like, you know each other so well. You are so in love, and you feel her soul, and it is obsidian, and it is dark, and it is enrapturing, and it is full of dark, lucent light. And then we pull out of this vision and across the ship to you, Rin, as you feel this like holiday spirit, this like, you know, warms the heart, like song explode off of Rahas's bow. How are you responding to this as well?
I think the spirit guardians might drop. She's having memories not of the ship, but of one of her last meals at home, where her mother was trying to get her to help cook, and she kept trying to run out and play, and kind of like, how can you take care of yourself if you don't know how to cook? That kind of thing. You have to learn how to do this to take care of everyone in your family, and she's just trying to avoid it. Maybe see Shuru in the fire. Maybe that didn't belong to her to begin with. And she's back, and she's just calm and looking at everyone, and you see the fire just kind of lightly on her as she drops everything, and just watching her friends and like digging for snacks.
Yeah, it's like Rahas's heartfelt song seems to almost like thin the fog a bit, and like for the first time in weeks, the rain lets up. And Shi Yang at the threshold of the captain's quarters, like her Xian was like half drawn from the scabbard as she was arguing with Maseho. Like she slowly sheaths it, looks up, like looks around at all of you, like ignoring the thrashing tentacles on either side of starboard and port, just looking at each of her crew members, each of her family. Brought like kind of back to her senses through this haze of sorrow, of grief, of anger, of misplaced rage by Rahas, and says, everyone, there's something I need to tell you all. And then the tentacles slam forward. They grab onto the banisters of the ship, like surrounding it. They just like wrap around it, and there's like a groaning of wood as the ship rocks back and forth, like from the tentacles on either side of it. And this mist, this fog suddenly like almost like rushes forward, like smog trying to fill a container very quickly. It just rushes forward and thickens and thickens all around you. And all of you hear Kunan's voice ringing out.
No. What is this? Ha! Pathetic attempt at coming together. I will show you just how much stronger the misery is than the joy.
And I want each of you to tell me, what worst memory coils through the fog to haunt you? Masehu, I want you to go last because I have something for you. Let's start with Rahas.
Worst memory. Doesn't have to be like ship, like on the ship, or is it like related to everybody here?
It's
Anything?
completely up to your own interpretation.
Okay, yeah. I think it is like this. We're back at Nisei, and I think Rahas, is just like a little goblin, like maybe like a teenager or something, and is just like not really good at what they're doing. Like it is just like, I think it's like relentless bullying is kind of like this vibe of like, oh, I'm just like a little guy, and it's like I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and it's like, oh, you got all this, and it's like family expectation. It's like this kind of super cut of like the bad day of like, oh, I didn't do well in school and people are making fun of me. And then I go back home and the parents are like, you're so gifted and talented. You do nothing with that. And it's like, I just want to have fun. I just want to be a little boy, it's like, yeah, well, why don't you be more like all these other people? It's real Asian parent vibes is really kind of where I'm going at with that. But that's the bad times.
It's like a supercut of all the times you've disappointed your parents, of like not being flashy enough with your performance, not doing magic good enough, like not hunting as well as the other hunters, not gathering as much as the other gatherers, just like absolutely not living up to expectations, and also like all of that pressure seems to like actually sag on your shoulders. Like there was so much pressure from your past life, pressure to put on the perfect mask for the tribe, to be the hope that everyone pinned all of their own hopes upon, right? And it's so much, and you can feel that mask cracking. You can feel your like shoulders and muscles tensing, and it's weighing you down. And these visions coil out of the fog, like literally, physically out of the fog. We see these memories in front of you, taunting you in full view.
Great.
And now we pan across to Rin. What worst memory coils out of the fog to haunt you?
You see a field on fire, and then more fields and more fire. It is the harvest. It is the time where we collect all the food for everyone. It is the last chance, and she has destroyed it all. She took Shuru from the fire and was trying to learn and destroyed everything, which led to the downfall of the entire tribe.
Oh, wow.
The starvation.
Yes, the starvation of everybody.
The memory you have tried so hard to escape, to flee from, to, what, make up for, perhaps? In your own way, but you learned that day that being yourself, your full, big, risky self, well, it burns. It destroys, doesn't it? And I think, like, that's at the heart of that vision. As it coils out, we see licking tongues of white flame, and you can even like hear in the fog like the despairing screams of your family, of your clan, as they see their entire year's worth of like grain supply just go up in flames, and you can hear that jackrabbiting of fear and guilt and shame and fear and shame and guilt and shame just in your heart, and you grab Shuru and you run. And as we push through these licking white flames, we now find Aki. What worst memory of yours coils out of the fog to haunt you?
It's the day that my sister vanished. Some people say that she is dead. I am still holding out hope. But she presses the blunderbuss that's now at my side into my hands and tells me, go, you can't stay here. It's not safe. And I try to kind of like fight her and tug her along with me, but she just stands her ground and it's too much. And I kind of get carried like away and back toward the ship with like the kind of cacophony of like action and people that are running and fleeing, and like all of the kind of surge of this like surge of desperation kind of coming from trying to escape this bad situation. And I keep looking over my shoulder, and she just gets like smaller and smaller and smaller until she's gone. And I just never see her again.
Chaos, violence, screaming, shouting, a raid drum being pounded. We can even maybe in the distance hear Rahas's voice singing a battle song as we see the last kiss rise up out of the fog as its broadsides are like right next to the ship of a mercantile galleon from Uhanahi, a ship bearing tons of valuable resources, tools, and weapons from the Uhanahi Research Laboratory. We see like hooks, being placed over like the railing being pulled in. We see other pirates before the rest of the crew left in the wake of Shi Yang's despair, like launching themselves over the railing onto this URL ship, cutting down URL merchants and their guards like they're nothing, like they're like just ravaging through paper. And you're pulled back as your sister like turns around and also like hops over a gangplank on, like pulling out her twin daggers and shouting. And you're pulled back away and you don't see what happens next, right? Like the fog starts to like close in on it, almost like it's taunting you that you didn't get to see your sister's last moments, right? Like this fog begins to like fog over her, like disappearing back through the chaos. And that was the last time you saw your sister. All you know now as the fog wipes that away and then this next horrible memory repels into being around you. All you know after that is, well, the raid was successful and there was one casualty and it was your sister and there was no body. And that's all you knew. Something about being flung overboard, something about the chaos of everything. Shi Yang hanging her head. Masaho there as well. I think a darkness on their face, but a stoicness as well. And then the fog like it ensconces you like a cocoon of sorrow, Aki, as you just feel your heart break over and over and over again as that image just replays through the mist. Your sister vanishing, your sister vanishing, your sister vanishing, and you did nothing. You could do nothing. Nothing. And then we push across the ship to Masaho. So tell me, what memory first begins to coil out of this fog to haunt you?
I think at this time, Maseo is like pitch deep in battle. Their echo has manifested itself and it's off over to the side out of their peripheral. They have a connection to it. They know that it's there, but they don't really recognize it or understand why it is what it is in the first place or what it is. It looks familiar, but they're not sure. And they have, and they are brandishing their long sword and are in the middle of fighting two combatants at the time. And they just get done like cleaving, they're like breathing hard and like sweating and like just got done cleaving one guy, like just splitting them in half with their sword before turning over to the other one right next to them and kind of just hacking like a long heavy swipe like right through, kind of like cleaving them through like the neck and shoulders as well.
And then you feel it. You don't see it, but you feel it. You have that spiritual, soul-bound connection to your echo. So you can feel it like fighting, like through the murk as well. You can feel it when it cuts down enemies and kills them, snuffs out that spark of life. And then you feel it like snuff out another. But something about this spark of light is obsidian. It's darkly lucent. It's brimming with a kind of shaded light.
Do I feel that connection severing?
You feel the light snuff, leave a body, go elsewhere.
No. No, it's no, we were fighting. She was next to me. I saw her.
You cannot see your echo through the chaos, but you feel every limb moving like a ghost movement in your own body, right? And you feel, for the first time, your echo make an expression. Because I think your echo has been stoic. It has never laughed or scowled or anything up until this point, but you finally feel it for the first time make an expression, and it smiles. It smiles from ear to ear, a vicious, vicious smile. It wanted to do this. It's been waiting to do this.
Why would they want to take her from me?
And the sad part is, Maseo, you still don't have the answer. All you hear in this memory is a splash as a body goes overboard, and the fog continues to thicken. And when images begin to reform in the fog, at first you think it's the same vision that's going to play again, taunting you, right? Like it does for each of your other friends. The same horrible memory on repeat, on loop, on repeat, on loop. But what occurs next, what coils out of the fog next is yourself, Maseo. At first you think that's my echo, but it looks so much more solid than your echo does, because your echo looks like a ghost, right? It's like translucent, see-through. But this version of the echo of yourself is solid in the mist. You even see colors, the color of your skin, of your hair, of your armor. You see a table? And there's someone across the table sitting on like a chair made of mist. And this person is a striking elven person. They have skin like black marble, and it's struck through with these veins of gold and white. And then, as the images recoil in front of you, memories begin to flash, pop up in your mind like they were never gone. It's just suddenly you didn't have the knowledge, and then there it is. Like turning around as you're looking for your glasses, looking off to the other side, and then you turn around again, and there they are. Tarnak Sia, the sculptor, your coworker, friend, no, those are wrong, your superior, your boss, the person who had hired you. Tarnak Sia is saying to you, Maseo, now, are the details on this assignment clear? The defector must be killed, by any means. And how did you, in this memory, respond?
I know my job and my duty.
Good. Good. That's why I've trusted you with this task after all. I have something else I have to attend to. More blood to wet my own chisel. Remember who you are, who you were, who you will always be. Maseo, you are a kingslayer.
Nobody knows this job like I do. It'll be done.
That's right. There's a ship waiting for you on the harbor. 3 good men, sellswords. I've paid them handsomely. Just remember to hold your tongue. I know you have a fiery spirit. Don't get on their bad side. They're good sailors. They'll get you to the lagoon. Last place we heard, she was there.
And it'll be the last place she stands.
Good. And like this mist, I think, disapparates and continues to like coil around you. And now, Maseo, you notice a different vision. And so do all of you. Because this entire time, not only were each of you surrounded by your own visions, you could also see everyone else's visions, coiling around everyone else. So all of this is public knowledge to all of you. You can notice it as much or as little as you want based on your own character's enrapturement in your own trauma, perhaps. And all of you now notice, I think you especially, Masaho, because she's right there, and you too, Aki, Shi Yang's vision. And we see Shi Yang's worst memory. And it is herself and Cleo in her quarters, sitting on a comfortable couch next to each other, talking privately as good friends do, as best friends do. And Cleo is saying, as her arms are crossed and her head is cocked to the side, "They're dangerous, Shi Yang. They could remember at any point. And I'm not convinced they're not just faking this whole amnesia thing to get my guard down. I think we should let them walk the plank. I can't risk Aki's life. I know what they're capable of. I've seen it. I helped train them. They sparred with me. It's why I left the Kingslayers. I can't let my sibling know I was an assassin. What would they think of me?" And Shi Yang puts her arm around Cleo's shoulders and pulls her in tight. "I understand where you're coming from, Cleo, but they're a different person now. We need to give them a second chance. That's what being a pirate is all about. It's second chances. Let them decide who they want to be now. They're already picking up the ropes pretty quickly. They seem to be having a nice, older sibling, younger sibling bond with Aki. They're getting along with everyone else. Plus, I catch maybe a spark between the two of you. Well, I don't know. It's weird looking at someone who was definitely sent here to kill me, but something must have happened on the journey. You promise this is the right thing to do?" "I promise. Everyone deserves a second chance." And we feel Shi Yang's guilt as this memory plays over and over and over, and then it wipes away, and we see her on the ship, the URL ship, as Shi Yang is cutting through, dancing through the violence, blood gushing around her, her GN flashing, and we see her turn as she hears some sort of scuffle happening. She turns, her eyes widen, and we see Masaho's echo. The sword speared through Cleo's back. Masaho's echo lifting Cleo up over the railing and dumping the body out into the waters. And this entire time, Shi Yang was running toward that moment, screaming, a wordless sound of rage, grief, terror ripping out of her throat as she's running, but she is too late. And the echo turns and vanishes into the crowd, and she runs over and bullet time stops. She explodes against the railing, looks down into the waters, those dark teeming depths, and there's nothing. It's the fucking ocean. Once something's overboard, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. And then she looks up, closes her eyes, squeezes them shut, grasps her fingers into tight fists as we see her pulling on the weave like she's trying to find something, sense something. And then her eyes widen and she turns toward a crate, runs toward it, smashes it open with her sword, reaches in past the straw and pulls out a necklace, a pendant, a clear gem. She thrusts the clear gem into the air and pulls down onto an invisible thread of the weave, snatches Cleo's soul out of the air before it vanishes into the after, and places it into the gem. And as Cleo's soul fills the gem, we see darkness turn the gem obsidian. And as that image washes away, we see the actual Shi Yang herself back on the ship with that gem against her neck that she's now clasping tight. And at this point, all of your traumas, all of your memories, all of the fog starts to disintegrate as this creature, this emissary, is growing so strong and happy off of the combined misery. It releases its grip on this memory fog for half a minute. And now all of you are there looking at each other. What do you do?
Misaho drops to the ground. And I think in the most emotion you've probably ever seen them exude. It's just this loud, gut-wrenching, just scream, cry. I don't really know, but it's enough for them to just slam their fists through the deck of the ship just in like just pure utter frustration and pain.
Yup. How about the rest of you?
I feel like Aki is in this moment where they thought they knew for sure their sister was out there, and their eyes kind of dart over to the pendant, and like they're just barely able to rouse themselves to like walk over there and put their hand over top of it and their other hand in Shi Yang's and be like, "You said nothing. You said nothing. You kept this from me."
Aki, I am so sorry. I didn't want to. I wasn't going to keep it from you, from Maseo, from any of you. I just needed to fix it. That's what all of this has been about. I needed to be able to fix it. If I could just fix it and bring them back. If I could just fix it and bring them back, then I wouldn't give you false hope. I wouldn't give you false hope. I'm the captain. I fix things. I don't.
You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. We could help. All of us could have helped.
Aki, the only thing worse than grief is having hope and then having it shattered. I couldn't put you through that. I promised your sister I'd protect you.
I can protect you too.
Rin and or Rahas. Yeah, how are the two of you responding?
I actually think when she says who am I going to go after? When the captain says something about no hope, I want to use a spell, but not kind of how it's supposed to be used.
We love that at Transplanar. Tell me what the spell is. Tell me what you're trying to do.
I'm going to walk up, because I've been with this crew for a while now. I know Cleo. Put my hand over Aki's hand. And you see them not shrink down, but kind of soften. But with hope comes healing. And that's the only way you can heal. And I'm going to cast a beacon of hope on the necklace. And I want the spell bestows hope and vitality. And I want to bring happiness and hope and togetherness and try to pull on the remnants of the music in the fog from Rahas and shed a little bit of light.
Yes,
now we have
I love
a soul,
that.
we can bring it back.
Rahas, if you want, you can help with this endeavor.
Yeah, 100%.
Tell me how you're assisting.
I think, I mean, like, I feel like music is the best way. Like, I feel like, I think like Chloe taught me a lot of the ropes is like a way I'm thinking. Like, or like, you know, I maybe like learned like, because I came onto a show, I don't know what the fuck being a pirate was, so like y'all kind of taught me some things, and I think like Chloe taught me some shanties and taught me how to be a little bit of a rascal, right? And so I'm probably like playing a song that she remembers to try and like, you know, coax whatever dormant soul is left, you know.
Yeah, okay. Rin, as you cast Beacon of Hope on this cage, this soul cage, essentially, that still has a remnant of Cleo suspended within it, this dark light, I think, begins to beam out of it, like Shi Yang is grabbing onto a fistful of a black sun, spiraling past the gaps of Shi Yang's fingers, past the gaps of Aki's fingers too, as Aki's hand is also clasped over that gem, and all of you feel it. Or rather, you feel them. Cleo. There is a part of her still there. It's her soul, after all, a soul that Shi Yang had desperately seized out of the ether and placed it into the only vessel capable enough to hold it, a URL instrument, and it's there. And it's small, and it's broken, and it's not all her. It's not her completely, because upon death, of course, the divine triptych shatters open and pieces of you go everywhere, but there is still truth there. There is still Cleo. And all of you kind of like feel her in the weave in that moment, right? Between the song that Rahas is weaving, between the light that beams out of Rin's beacon, you feel her presence. What do you all do? What do you all say?
I think Maseho finally kind of like, when they feel Cleo, their breath catches a little bit. And you kind of see them like grip their chest, like around their neck. And like just through like the most choked voice you could think, it was just, I never meant to do this to you. I've always loved you. I never wanted to hurt you. I'm so sorry.
There is a welling in the weave, as all of you sense this shattered remnant of Cleo thrum? Hum? Vibrate? And there's like a moment in the air, like the smell of rain, like petrichor before it occurs. And like all of you know, I think instinctively, intuitively, Cleo is about to speak? And then Kunan cuts in and says,
I can bring her back. The divine triptych is body, mind, soul. You have the soul. I have the body. As for the mind, well, she'd still come back. Just might not be entirely her. But I can give her to you. The truest kind of resurrection Entake can have.
So she can be like me?
Is that such a bad thing to be, Maseo? I drowned you, and I brought you back, imbued you with my dread power. The two of you can walk in the twilight together.
no,
What do
you
I have?
said, I think Shi Yang cuts in, as like her hand is like gripping over the gem. You said, the divine triptych. I am a spell sword emissary. I have studied my soul work. Upon death, there's no real way to bring back a life. Especially a life this far gone. But this is what I've been looking for this whole time. If she comes back, what is your price?
All of you, to pledge your souls to me, so I might feast off your miseries until the day you die.
Haven't you had enough? Was watching me suffer all these months not enough for you?
Misery is a bottomless well. Pour water in. Keep it flowing.
Aki is shaking with rage. Like, shaking with just this thunderous look on their face. and their hand like flings away from Shi Yang. And they try to like look around as if to like attempt to address this creature. Cleo would never want this. You can't just rule with fear. You have to have respect. I have no respect for you. None. You do this to our family. You do this to you do this to my sister. She would never want to be this way. And I look at Shi Yang. Never. Never. She'd never want to do this. And you know it, and I know it, and we all know it. I miss her too, but not like this.
It's my fault. Take me. Don't hurt them.
Shi Yang snaps her gaze away from Aki to look at you. Maseo. No. 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 We can't lose you too. I can't lose you too.
Shi Yang, I told you earlier, someone in your absence has to step up and be the captain of this ship. It's my turn to step up. Let me step up.
Maseo, I...
Rahasti, would you like to go? I thought you also meant to say something. What's Shuru doing right now?
Shuru
How's that happening in there?
is brimming in your soul. Also an emissary, but has folded themselves into you in a way that obscures them, you sense, from the other emissary. They're very clever. I think like little tendrils of fire are poking out as they're pulling on the weave and trying to like assess the situation, basically. And as you check in with Shuru, you hear their voice go, "It's lying. It's not entirely telling the whole truth. I can almost see its own memories in the fog, a kind of emissary speak. It didn't bring Maseo back. Not fully. The Maseo was on the brink of drowning. Yes, those 3 Uhanian sailors had thrown them overboard after an altercation. They'd been half drowned, but half. They weren't fully dead yet. This emissary just replenished them back up to 1. Just topped them off a little bit, help them get all the way back to the now, so Maseo was never truly dead. If this deal goes through, Cleo, she wouldn't even be like Maseo. She'd be like a zombie, a half-life, not here, not there, floating forever between the now and the after, trapped in the ethereal. And I don't even know what that means because the after isn't even here anymore. It might just not work. Or her soul might die.
Then we have to make it go away. And she's gonna look at Aki. No. And as right before, I'm just gonna let you know, unless if you want to do something, I'm casting banishment. I'm pledging myself to follow Saru. We're gonna go on a mission. We're gonna go see where this leads. This way no one has to die, and I'm gonna cast banishment on your this thing that's hurting us.
Is that a save or a roll for you?
That is a charisma save.
Against what?
15.
Wait, can I?
Quick, someone donate for Disney. Where's the
Can I
donate?
here?
Where's the donate?
I wanna use. I have unsettling words, which will
Okay.
reduce.
Yes.
So I roll a d8, and then it gets a minus to its next saving throw, based on what I roll. Gets a -8.
Yes!
Ooh.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Teamwork.
Makes the motherfucking dream work.
I like curse at it. I go, you big Monster, you look. I don't know.
That's your cursing, you
Yeah.
big monster.
What does banishment look like?
Let's go.
As she does it, the flame just kind of goes out of her. Saru has, for a moment, a body and mind and spirit of their own. It looks just like her, though, but taller, bigger, wiser, older. It kind of looks like her mother. As she's channeling all her love and care and feelings for her friends to try to help them and try to make this thing go away, using a full-on emissary versus emissary, and it just, with a rolling pin, bonks it on the head, and like a spray of flour.
Yeah, there's an explosion of flour, and this huge rolling pin smashes through the fog and like attacks one of the tentacles. And then there's like a kind of like horrific, squealing, shrieking, thrashing noise as all of the tentacles seize up and begin to like shudder, like all of them have been electrocuted or like attacked with some sort of like fire. That's what it is. We see it beginning to shrivel, beginning to burn, fire on top of the ocean, like oil being lit aflame on the surface of a pond. And like all of these tentacles start to like thrash and thrash and thrash. And even the one in the net, I think like begins to thrash. I think it rears up out of the net finally, but to retreat back into the sea. And there's like a horrific splashing, rolling motion as all of these tentacles let go of the railing all at once. And for the last time, we hear this thing's voice go,
Fine, keep your petty little joys. See how far that gets you in the apocalypse. You think you can live without me? You think you can live without my favor, my power? Fine, I may perhaps not have been the one to bring you back, but my tendrils are deep within you, Maseo. I can let them snuff out your light.
And Maseo, you feel something pretty horrific beginning to happen within your body. As Kunan's voice says,
You want to sacrifice yourself for love, for grief. Give me this final misery.
As you just feel pain coursing through your body, coursing through your soul. It is a pain beyond like physical reality. It is a spiritual pain that's like picking every single atomic particle that makes Maseo apart. As the tentacles retreat, as the fog clears, as the water splashes, and this Leviathan lets go of the ship and sinks away, like not just out of the ocean, but out of this current plane back toward whatever extra-dimensional space it had folded itself into after the cataclysm. Maseo, you begin to die.
Sounds about right.
Go ahead,
Look
Aki.
at them.
Go ahead.
So like I see them writhing in pain and I run over and I hesitate for like a half second and I can just barely look at Maseo, but I grab their hand and I kind of like try to get as close to their ear as I can. I meant it. We don't have to do this alone. It'll take time to get back to whatever new normal is, but you don't have to do this by yourself. We're all here for you. You weren't yourself. No more secrets. You don't have to do this by yourself.
Aki, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Never meant to hurt her.
Listen. She's not coming back. I know she's not coming back, but I have 2 siblings. I can't lose anymore.
And Maseo, and Aki, and Rin, and Rahas. As the fog clears, you see it. Coiling into the air, originating from that black spark of stone leashed around Shi Yang's neck. Cleo's spirit. Fire, Ganassi person, those twin daggers strapped on either hip, leather armor, a smile, sharp canines, mismatched eyes. Cleo reaches forward and places a ghostly hand over their siblings. Onto you, Maseo. And Cleo says, Maseo, it was a you from a past life that killed me. You have a new life now. That's what I wanted. It's why I left the Kingslayers. I wanted a new life for myself, for Aki, and now you have that same gift. Because that's what it is. It's a gift. Being a pirate is a gift. And I'll be damned if you return it to me. And you feel that death beginning to like rotate backward in like slow motion. As like we see Cleo's like edges beginning to dissipate as that soul is using its like last remnants to bring you back. And Shi Yang says, no, the cataclysm, your soul will go nowhere. And Cleo says, I don't think it will. Look up. And as each of you look up, you see one by one several of the stars beginning to return. The weave is rippling. The after is somehow impossibly being pulled back. From where? From nowhere? From oblivion? And Cleo cups the side of your face, Maseo, and says, I'll be waiting for you. Have fun on the journey here, okay?
I wanted that life with you. But I'll live it for the both of us. I'll see you on the other side.
I'll be waiting.
And they kind of nuzzle into their hand a little bit.
She nuzzles in too, and for just a minute, you feel like you can sense her warmth, that fire, for just a half second, a ghostly reminder of it. And she pulls away, turns, looks at Shi Yang. Thank you for taking me in. I never really said that to you, I don't think. I don't think I ever said thank you to you. Thanks for being a good captain. Thanks for being a friend. Thank you, Cleo. I'm so ashamed of the way I've acted since I even went back to Mercy. Yeah, that was pretty rough. But hey, Shi Yang, they need you, okay? Maseho's right, you're the captain. If you fall apart, so does the family. And you made a promise, remember? It's a promise I'll keep. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah, you will. And Cleo turns to face the two of you, Rahas and Rin. Rahas, you left behind a life you didn't want, and here you are now. You know, I really liked the kind of silly vest. All that shit. It's your own kind of pirate, even though it's kind of exaggerated. I like how you own it.
Tip my hat.
No one can tell you who to be and who you are, except for you. Not even Shi Yang. Tell the rats I said bye. And Rin, thank you for nourishing all of us with your food. I know you came to the Red Lagoon searching for a perfect plate, a perfect recipe, but I think you've got one of your own.
hand her a cookie and realizes that she can't take it. And holds it and just starts crying.
I'll miss your cookies. I look forward to seeing them again.
Take care, and I'll take care of them.
Thank you. I'm counting on it. And Aki. And Aki, your older sister, turns and looks at you. Even as the night sky starts to get a little bit brighter, even as the stars are coming back, she's not looking up, she's looking at you. I am so sorry that I have to do this, Aki. I hope you can forgive me.
Always.
You'll grow up to be a fine captain someday.
I'll try. Respect, always.
Always. I love you, kiddo. I'll see you soon. And with that, the ghost of Cleo closes her eyes, and her spirit vanishes. Upward. Up, up, up. A beam of obsidian light traveling upward toward the after, toward the stars, perhaps one day toward the gods eventually, and then she vanishes. A little streak of dark against an even blacker black. The gaps between the stars, the darkness amongst the light. And as we pull back down to this ship, Shi Yang's head, which was lowered, rises, and she releases her grip from the gem, which is translucent again. And she says this to all of you. I just never got to say goodbye, I guess.
I give her a hug.
Shi Yang, stiffens, flinches as you move forward and hug her, like she was not expecting that. And then she relaxes into the hug. And her arms rise and she hugs you back.
Jumps into a hug.
Yeah, Raha's
we're
running
gonna-
in for the hug too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think
Raha's
Raha's just in tears. She's all like, where is a miracle? It's an Eidolon miracle.
As Rin goes into hug, I think she's gonna grab Masago and pull you into it too.
I think Mistejo is very stoic, still kind of unreadable in the face, where normally they would look indifferent, borderline angry. It just is numb. Like there, but not really there. So their hug is more like just kind of standing amongst it, not really giving back or reciprocating.
Mm-hmm. I think as all of you are sort of hugging there, holding each other, Shi Yang briefly breaks away to look at you, Masayo. Hey, Masayo. I'm captain again, okay? Really, in a real way. But I'm gonna need a first mate.
And I think Miseho just puts their arm out again, like when they first met, to kind of shake hands. Just looking at them with this look of understanding, I guess, to an extent. Doesn't really acknowledge or say much, but it's kind of you can see that they're having an unspoken conversation between the two of them that's just kind of meant for them. And they both kind of just like shake their heads in understanding.
She takes that forearm just like the first time you met on that beach, and she shakes, and she's looking at you and nodding, right? And then she, after what feels like an infinity and also no time at all, lets go, turns, and looks past the southern lip of the last kiss, and her eyes widen as she and all of you see now, coming from the far, far south, but it's so bright and so huge you can see it anyway, even though it's probably hundreds of miles away, a pillar of red light explode upward from the direction of Uhanahi out of nowhere. It explodes upward and punches into the atmosphere and begins to spread this inky crimson liquid-like color across the newly retrieved after. And Shi Yang says, I think, that smile finally returning to her lips after a year of grieving. Well, members of The Last Kiss, I think I know where we're headed next. And we're going to end the session there. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in to Heartbreak on the High Seas. I've been your GM and creative producer, Connie Bongus. It's Connie Chong. My pronouns are they, he, and she. Find me all across the internet at by Connie Chong, BYCONNICHANG. I'm gonna pass along introductions to the incredible Sam.
Wow, okay. Wasn't really expecting that. Connie, I said fuck me up, but damn. Okay. Hey everyone. I am the emotionally traumatized and very hurt Sam. This was absolutely beautiful. Connie, thank you so much. I'm so excited for just being here and getting a chance to finally play with you. I've been wanting to for a while. You can catch me on the internet at Lust for Life X. Lust has 2 T's. Life has 2 E's and an X on the end. That's Twitter. You can catch me there, catching up with all of the really cool, interesting shit that I do on the very regular basis. I am a TTRPG performer. You can catch me on Wednesdays bi-weekly on Black Girl Mage's channel, playing Soleil in Strix U. Fridays bi-weekly playing Infinite Monkey Tales. I have to read through my on Infinite Monkey Tales, playing Mask. I have to like go through what I'm actually working on right now, and a couple other really cool things that are coming up in the process soon that I can't necessarily think about right now or have not been announced. So just like follow me there and you can keep up with that. And I'm going to pass it along to Vidithia.
It's me. Hey everybody, I've been Vidithia. I'll continue to be him hopefully in the near future. You can find me online at Vidithia Valetti. Basically everywhere. I have very good brand consistency. And I'm a game designer first and foremost, so you can find my games at vidithiavaletti.itch.io, where I have a bunch of really fun stuff that you can check out, like Bloodbeam Badlands is my current big project. You are gunslinging vampires in a post-apocalypse where the sun doesn't set. So it's your worst fear, but you're also the most powerful thing ever. It's really fun. I also want to quickly shout out that this weekend from Friday the 28th to the 31st on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/VDTValetti, me and my good friend, fellow game designer, Nevin Holmes, we're running a charity stream every night. We play horror games. It's Buditia's Nevoween Screamtacular. We're raising funds for Fun Texas Choice. This is our 3rd year doing it. And so we'd love to see you there. It starts at 9 p.m. EST and we go for about 3 hours. Each night we're playing horror video games. And it's a lot of fun. We play a bunch of indie games. We also play some big hits. We are both big babies, so if you want to see people who are scared of horror games play them, it's a really wonderful time, and we have fun ways for chat interaction, so we'd love to have people in chat for a good cause. And I think that's what I got. So I'm gonna pass it on to April, right? Yes.
That's me. Hi, I'm April. You can find me all over the internet as April Raygun. there's a lot of stuff I'm doing and things happening, but the biggest thing is November 3rd through the 6th. I'm part of a charity event on D&D Jordan Lee's channel, and we're playing for Color of Change, Games for Change. Games for Change. D&D Jordan Lee's been doing this a couple years now, and this is gonna be a big one. 3.5 days. There's 9 games. If you want to watch my game is on Friday at 8 p.m. where I'm going to take our friends through Oops, all owlbears. Everyone turned into an owlbear. Why are they owlbears? I don't know. I should know. I'm running the game. So to find out, you should watch that Friday, the 2nd, at 8 p.m. And I'm going to pass it to Candace.
Hi, everyone. I have been Aki Blackbun. I am also crying. You can find me on Twitter at that Candace girl, everywhere else on the interwebs at Candace the Magnificent. Tomorrow night, I will be over on Going Critical's channel for some kids on bikes. That's going to be, I believe, at 8 p.m. Thursday, actually every Thursday for the next 4 weeks, you can find me over at K Damn Fears channel for an original horror 5e campaign called Godplane, in which I actually play a Minotaur. So shout out to April. You can find me on my channel on Friday, TBD of a time. I will either be streaming a scary game or playing Halloween songs on my ukulele. So please come join me. And then I have another show on Saturday. It's the stream apocalypse for me. I have a game on Saturday over on Voidcat Gaming's channel. And then every Monday, you can actually find me on 12-Sided Stories doing some Delta Green. So please feel free to take a look at any of those locations and check out my my Twitter for more information as things start cropping up. I'm busy. So if you like TTRPG stuff, take a gander. I'm going to pass it back over to Connie. Thank you so much. Overwhelming thanks for having this amazing one shot, for telling such a fantastic story, such an incredible session. And thank you to my fellow players for just being absolute sunshine. Oh my God.
That's you, BB, all the way.
So
All
much.
of
My God.
sunshine.
Everyone,
I love y'all.
so good.
Yeah, you all are amazing. Yeah, so everyone follow all of these folks, show up to all of the events that you can, and throw them money, support them, tune in, show up. And thank you for showing up, to Shoot Your One Shot. What an incredible event with incredible performers. Thank you to everyone who has donated and supported us. We have a raid going right now to Super Dylan. So use the raid message in chat. We love them. Wind down from this trauma fest with some cozy games. And we will see you on this Saturday for the continuation of Transplanar RPGs: The Second Stranger, Arc 7, Episode 3, baby! See you there. We love you so much, and Bijou.